following is a special presentation of Sunshine Network.
Florida State has shown their ability to pitch, play defense, and provide timely hitting to take a step closer to returning to Omaha in the College World Series after a 3-year drought. Today, they face the Golden Knights of UCF, and it's next on Sunshine. It's the first Sunday in June. It is hot, it is humid in Tallahassee, Florida, where at Dick Howser Stadium, it is Championship Sunday in one of 16 NCAA regional baseball tournaments. This afternoon, it's Florida State hosting the Golden Knights of UCF. Hello and good afternoon. Gene Deckerhoff along with Tom Block inviting you to come on along for the very best in college baseball, and it doesn't get any better than Championship Sunday. Today, UCF has to beat Florida State twice to go to the next step, the Super Regional. Florida State needs to win one. Who's going to take this first game, Tom Block?
Well, Florida State is in the driver's seat by being in the winner's bracket, but you can look at UCF's history. In 2000, 2001, UCF was the team in the winner's bracket. They were beaten twice on Championship Sunday, didn't advance. I tell that story for 2 points. A, Mike Martin's telling his club, guys, just because we're in the winner's bracket doesn't mean a thing. Jay Bergman is telling his team, we can win two. It's been done to us. That's all we've got to do is win 2 games today.
And what it takes to win championships in regional play is solid pitching. Both of these teams have outstanding pitching. None better, perhaps, than UCF's 2 starters that we've seen already.
Well, UCF has gotten some great starts, and Florida State's gotten terrific starts as well. It started on Friday for FSU, and it was Eddie Cannon, a guy who's been inconsistent, kind of up and down this year, but during his career he's been much better at home for FSU, and he was splendid. He threw FSU's second complete game of the season on Friday night against Bethune-Cookman. Rhett James has been a Bulldog all year. He is Florida State's ace. He took a no-hitter into the 7th inning against UCF yesterday. That's what kept FSU in the winner's bracket, as they are 2-0 so far in this regional. And really, FSU has not had to go into its bullpen very far at all. Eddie Cannon, a complete game on Friday. Rhett James, 7 innings on Saturday. FSU as a team is leading this regional in ERA. The team ERA is an even 2. That's why they're here right now.
Solid pitching gets you to Championship Sunday in the first round of the regionals. Also, team speed, very important. You got to take advantage of every opportunity. If you get a base runner aboard, you're going to steal some bases. UCF comes in with 110 stolen bases this year.
And almost half of those are right at the top of the lineup with their leadoff hitter in Clay Timpner, who leads the team in several categories, including the steals that you're talking about. He has to set the table for Jay Bergman and company. If you look at what he's done so far this year, he leads the team in average, hits, triples, homers, and steals with 43, as you mentioned. If he gets on base, it puts all kinds of pressure on Florida State defensively, and it sets things up for the heart of that UCF order. He's a big key.
Championship Sunday in Tallahassee, Florida doesn't get a whole lot better right here at Dick Howser Stadium. Up next, the starting lineups and today's first pitch. The 2004 NCAA Baseball Regionals on Sunshine Network are brought to you by Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. Bell South Answers, more choice of services, all from one company, all on one bill. Bell South, listening, answering. It's a sunny afternoon in Tallahassee, Florida. We're at Dick Howser Stadium. It's college baseball at its very best. Florida State versus Central Florida at Dick Howser Stadium. The Seminoles ranked 16th. They are the reigning Atlantic Coast Conference tournament champions. UCF runners-up in the Atlantic 10, and they have put on quite a show here, battling out of the losers bracket. Their first loss came yesterday to Florida State, 3-2, and the best baseball game we have seen in this regional tournament. Today, the Golden Knights have a chance to return the favor. But to advance to the Super Regionals, Jay Bergman's Knights have to beat Florida State twice today. Bergman in his 22nd year as the head coach of the Golden Knights. Over 1,000 victories, and here is Jay Bergman's Bell South starting lineup. Playing center field and leading off dangerous Clay Tempner. Matt Ray plays second, bats second. D. Brown is in left field, batter number 3. The cleanup hitters, Ryan Bono, the first baseman. Marshall Bernard, Chandler Rose, Kevin Richmond, Drew Butera, and David Mann round out the starting lineup for UCF. Come in with a 46-17 record. Mark Sauls is on the hill for the Florida State Seminoles. He earned all tournament honors in the Atlantic Coast Conference Tournament in Salem, Virginia last weekend, and he hopes to contribute today in a successful appearance on the mound to take the Seminoles a step closer to Omaha. Mark Sauls is making his 17th start of this season. Defensively behind Sauls, in the passer, it's Gibbs Chapman in left, Robinson in center, Matt Sauls in right, his brother. Dennis Anderson at third, around the horn, and Stephen Drew at short, Zech at second, and Ryan Malone is the first baseman. Aaron Cheeseman will give the signs to starting pitcher Mark Sauls. He's the Seminole backstop. Umpiring today's game, boy, they have been busy. Last night, the fifth game of this tournament did not get over until a little bit after midnight. The home plate umpire is Andy Eves. Don Gilmore works first base. Brian Donnelly is at second. And Dale Luker is the blue behind the bag at third. Florida State comes in with a record of 44-20. And the Noles trying to notch victory number 45 today. Tempner stands in, and we're underway. Saul's first offering is down and away. Ball 1. We've seen good pitching in this tournament, Tom Block, and none better than what we've seen out of Central Florida and Florida State. Hot shot towards Zech. Routine grounder and a 4-3 putout. You erase the most dangerous player in the Golden Knight lineup, and that's Clay Tempner.
Well, you comment on the pitching, and really these two teams have been very even. I mean, FSU won 3-2 yesterday, but UCF had its chances in that game. And I thought UCF showed nice resiliency to come back after a tough loss and score some runs in the first inning on Oklahoma State, and then they got a dramatic home run to win that game. Been a gutty performance by this UCF team, and shouldn't be surprised. Jay Bergman has fielded good teams for a long time.
Matt Ray is the only freshman in the starting lineup for the Central Florida Knights, and he stands in to bat left-handed against the right-handed throwing Mark Sauls. Ray is a switch hitter from Riceville, Tennessee. He's collected just one base hit and 10 plate appearances in the tournament, and he's a much better hitter than that. His season average of .323 gives you an indication he can put the ball in play. One out, nobody on. Top of the first, you found College Baseball Championship Sunday on Sunshine Network. Off-speed pitch. An offering was Matt Ray and slapped it foul. Down the third base line. Again, an 0-2 pitch due from Mark Sauls. Sauls had 2 outstanding outings in the Atlantic Coast Conference Regional, including earning the victory with 6 solid innings against Georgia Tech. Here's a looping liner to left, measured by Chapman. He'll squeeze it 2 away.
Routine play for Chapman, who has not been the left fielder all season long, but the last month or so, the lineup FSU has out there has been the regular lineup, if you will. Mike Martin finally settled on a roster. Some of the young guys have started to mature a little bit, and FSU has really played its best baseball of the season at the right time here in the last 3-4 weeks. D. Brown has carried a pretty big stick to the plate all tournament here in Tallahassee. He is the son of the late Jerome Brown, outstanding football player, University of Miami, and then with the Philadelphia Eagles, an all-pro Pro Bowler. And it's a special occasion for the Brown family. 1D is playing baseball in the Tallahassee Regional today. And tonight his father will be inducted into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. An easy put out by Drew at short, and a 1-2-3 frame for Mark Sauls. We go to the home half of the first, no score. Well, the Florida State Seminoles hooking up with the Golden Knights of Central Florida. Head coach Mike Martin has his team in the championship bracket with 2 wins this week. In his 25th season, 1,300 plus wins. Here is Mike Martin's Bell South starting lineup. Brian Zech leads off, plays second. Stephen Drew at short, bats second. Eddie Martinez Esteve is the designated hitter in the 3-hole. Aaron Cheeseman is the cleanup hitter, a catcher. Ryan Malone, Matt Sauls, Gibbs Chapman, Shane Robinson, and Dennis Anderson round out Mike Martin's starting lineup. A couple of freshmen in that starting lineup today. The starting pitcher for the Knights, Mike Billick, a 6'4 sophomore from Palm Harbor, missed a good part of the season and is ready to start today's game. He's a big right-hander, 6'4", 235. And he comes in with a
0-1 record and a 5.82 earned run average. The first offering to Brian Zetch on the way. And it's a little down. And away, ball one. Brian Zetch, Stephen Drew, and Eddie Martinez Esteve slated to face Mike Billick here in the home half of the first inning. No score, a 1-2-3 frame for Mark Sauls in the top of the first. That one nearly got him on the wrist. Ball two. Brian Zetch has led the Seminoles in the postseason during the season in the top 5 with a .339 batting average. And how about that? 6 home runs. He had a career 6 home runs coming into his senior season, and he's matched that in 1 year.
It's been a good year for Brian Zetch, and really a solid career. If you look at the fact that he's pretty much been an everyday starter since the day he set foot on campus for FSU.
Automatic in there for a call, strike one. Boy, when you look 60 feet away from home plate, and you see big old Mike Billick out there. He bears down, gets the sign from catcher Drew Butera, and he's a big fella. That is a call, strike two. About knee high, Zetch thought he had earned a walk.
Well, we've seen this a few times this weekend, not just out of Zetch, but guys thinking that it was ball 4 and showing up the ump just a little bit and having to get back in the batter's box for another go at it.
Well, Zetch wasn't going to take any gambles with that high heat, went after it and clubbed it foul. And another 3-2 pitch due to the Seminole second sacker.
He's had a very good tournament for FSU, and as a matter of fact, he's leading this FSU team in hitting this tournament. So he's doing his job at the top of the order, batting .571 in this regional.
4 for 7. High hopper down the line at third. It is foul by an inch. And demonstrative Dale Luker, the third base umpire, says it's foul by an inch and a half. Zetch just pounded it into the turf right in front of home plate. And a heads-up play by third sacker Marshall Bernard. If he bare hands it, I don't think he gets the speedy Brian Zetch at first.
No, I don't think he does either, and that's why he took the gamble there. It's a smart play.
Now, if that would have hit the bag and rustled the chalk down there, would have been a base hit. You know what? He might have been able to dig for second.
Well, except that he wasn't, Zetch wasn't aware of where that ball was, so he had run through first base instead of making a turn.
Clubs it the same direction, handled nicely by Chandler Rose. The throw across is in time. Nice play by the Central Florida shortstop Chandler Rose. Speaking of the defense, let's check it out in the pasture. D. Brown plays left. Clay Kempner is in center field. Kevin Richmond, a former Florida State Seminole, in the pasture in right field. Around the horn, it's Bernard, Rose, Ray, and Bono. From third to first, behind home plate, Drew Butera. And, of course, on the hill, Mike Billick. Billick was 3-0 to lead off batting Brian Zetch, and then got him to a full count offering, and Zetch grounds out to short, 1 away. And Stephen Drew stands in. Drew, the All-American shortstop for the Seminoles, many think could be one of the top 3 picks in Monday's Major League Baseball draft. That's just around the corner, and Stephen Drew looking to do better today in championship Sunday play than he has in the previous couple of ball games. He is hitting just .250, 2 for 8. Has not driven in a run. He is a junior from Hayhire, Georgia. And if you say, hey, where's Hayhire? You've been saying that all weekend. It's just a tad outside Valdosta, Georgia. Drew's average .353 on the season. Good eye, a good contact hitter, has power and great speed.
You look at his numbers, they're not great this weekend, but he was 2 for 3 yesterday. Really, Friday night was the aberration. He was 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, but he's stolen 3 bases in this regional, so he's been somewhat productive.
The automatic in there for a call strike. Sometimes Drew has the green light. Billick wasn't going to offer one right down the chute. He put that on the inside corner. And Drew looked, 3-1 pitch due. 1 out, nobody on, bottom of the first inning. Took something off that pitch, dipped down, and Drew offered and got a piece of it, and the count full, 3-2.
Well, Jay Bergman's really hoping he can get 5 innings at least, or get Billick to pitch into the 6th, because one of the things that happens when you get in the loser's bracket is you run out of arms more quickly than the team that's in the winner's bracket. And UCF's not in dire straits yet, but he really needs to get a quality start out of Billick.
Big kick by Billick, and Drew gives it a long ride, deep right field. Will the park hold it? It will hold it off the screen. Drew digging for second. He's going to hit to third. The long throw is not in time. Drew slides safely with a triple. Stephen Drew's 7th triple of the season. He never hesitated rounding the bag at second. That one was close to getting out of the ballpark.
Well, we talk about Drew being in a slump, but 2 for 8, and all of a sudden you see why scouts are drooling about this guy. He had the ball in front of him. He decided to turn and go for third here because he was watching and could see where the ball went. And I'll tell you who made a heady play was Bernhardt at third. He tried to deke Drew as if there was no throw coming. He didn't react just as if there was no throw coming. Last second, Drew slides anyway, and he has to make the catch. But he was really trying to get Steven to ease up there.
Florida State with the first scoring opportunity of today's game at third base with a sliding triple. Steven Drew and Eddie Martinez Esteve. Speaking of slumps, a 143 batting average in the tournament. He is the season leader, not only for the Florida State Seminoles, but in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Began this this tournament in Tallahassee with a plus 400 batting average. Ball gets away from the catcher. Drew with great speed will score, sliding safely at home. Wild pitch on Billick, and the Noles lead 1-0.
Well, and that's what Steven Drew's speed will do for you. I mean, most guys, that's a double, but his speed, he turns it into a triple. And then on a wild pitch, anybody's going to come in and score from third. But, I mean, this is all Steven Drew, and Florida State's got a 1-zip lead. Tough chance there, and it just Karem's too far off of the chest protector, and by the time Butera gets it, he got the throw up in a hurry, but it would have taken a perfect strike and a much slower runner than Drew to get the out at the plate.
An early visit to the pitcher's mound by pitching coach Craig Cozart. And he'll settle down his big right-hander. Now, it's a 1-0 score, and what Cozart's going to tell Billick is, hey, son, look, Drew is an All-American. He got a triple. And you threw a wild pitch and he scored, but we got a lot of baseball left of this game. Just settle down, do what we know you can do, and just get batters out. A 1-run lead is nothing in regional play. In the region, the University of Central Florida Golden Knights are 2-1. They beat Oklahoma State in game 1, 7-3 on Friday. Yesterday, a heartbreaking loss, 3-2 to the homestanding Florida State Seminoles, the #1 seed in this tournament. Had runners at second and third and nobody out in the 8th inning. Could not plate the tying, let alone the winning run. And then last night in a marathon, because of rain delays, they outlast OSU in 10, 12-9. So they played a lot of baseball already. Darren Newland, the winner in relief last night. This Kyle Bono that pitched against Florida State yesterday, about as good a pitcher as I've seen this season. And Matt Fox, everybody expects to go in the early rounds Monday in the draft. There is a call strike, and Martinez Esteve thought he had a walk. We've seen that already out of
We saw that as Etch. Yeah, well, what we're seeing so far out of Billick is he's fallen behind the hitters. He's gotten to a 3-ball count to the first 3 hitters in Florida State's lineup, and you don't want to be pitching behind in the count, especially to the top half of this Florida State order, especially to a guy that hits the ball like Eddie Martinez Esteve.
1-0 score on the Drew triple, scoring on the wild pitch. Martinez Esteve, a hot shot to the hot corner. Bernard's throw across in time, and they're 2 down. Florida State yesterday, another outstanding pitching performance by a starting pitcher. Red James worked 7 innings, 6 1/3, no hit pitching by James. And Florida State edged the University of Central Florida 3-2. Hits about equal, 8-5, and the Golden Knights did commit a couple of miscues. Florida State 1, Central Florida 0. The batter is Aaron Cheeseman. Florida State's cleanup hitting catcher, a redshirt junior from Sarasota.
Well, and if you want to talk about MVPs for this FSU team, people talk about Martinez Esteve and Drew and whatnot. But I really think the job Aaron Cheeseman has done this year replacing Tony Ritchie has been unbelievable. Not just that he's hit with the stick. I mean, he's hitting around 350, 340. But he's had to handle a pitching staff that was very young and was completely overhauled from last year and has started every game this year.
He takes one right on the nose toward the wall and left. Brown on his horse will chase it down. Running grab by Brown in the pasture in left field. Big play by a big player. And that'll end the inning. In the bottom of the first, the Noles get a base hit, parlay that into a run. Steven Drew scores after 1 full. It's 1-0 Florida State. Florida State leads 1-0 after 1 full inning. You see the totals. Steven Drew's double with 1 out, or triple, and then he came home to score on a wild pitch. Last night, a long ball game, we told you. University of Central Florida against Oklahoma State. This is the bottom of the 10th inning, and Ryan Bono drives in 3 runs, a walk-off home run, the first of his career. And that gave the University of Central Florida a 12-9 victory and the advance to today's championship round, and another shot at the number 1 seed Florida State Seminoles. Ryan Bono, 3 for 6 last night, 5 runs batted in, including the game winner. Oklahoma State eliminated 12-9. They gave it their best. Oklahoma State was down a bunch early, 6-2, but then a long rain delay, and they got back into it, tied the game in the top of the 9th inning.
Big day for the Bono family yesterday, I guess you could say. Kyle on the mound earlier in the day, and then Ryan in the evening.
They're identical twins, and they had a big part to play in yesterday's success. Bono pops it high in the air, and Drew back on the grass makes the catch. And there is one away.
Well, so far, Sauls has been impressive on the mound, and this UCF team over the year has been a team that has scored a good number of its runs in the first couple of innings and really jumped on teams. And I know we're still very early in this game, but Brett James was masterful yesterday against UCF and really shut down their bats until the 6th, 7th inning or so. And so far, Sauls is starting out with that same kind of command of his pitches.
Marshall Barnard did not start yesterday's game, but came in with a huge pinch hit double that drove in the only 2 runs Central Florida scored in the contest in the winners bracket yesterday afternoon against Florida State. That was a big pinch hit double in the 8th inning. At that time, it looked pretty good for the Golden Knights' chances. They had runners at 2nd and 3rd, down just 1 with no outs. And Florida State got superb pitching by DeBlasi to shut the door and prevail 3-2. Bernard's a .299 hitter on the season. In the tournament, he's right up there with D. Brown. He's hitting a level 500. He is 4 for 8 and has driven in 5 RBI. 2-2 pitch due. A grass cutter to short. 2 away. So Drew's been busy. The last 3 putouts have gone his way, and Bernard is the second out of the inning.
Number 7, shortstop Chandler Rose.
And again, Saul's nice start continues so far, and UCF struggles in the early going to put some base runners on. I mean, if you're Sauls and you keep UCF off the base paths, you don't have to worry about the 110 steals that they bring in as a team.
Chandler Rose out of Fort Myers bats next, batter number 6 in the Golden Knight order. He is the UCF shortstop, transfer from New Orleans. And Saul's pitch just misses. A little high on the zone, a ball and a strike now with 2 outs, nobody on in the top of the 2nd inning. Florida State 1, UCF nothing.
Chandler Rose's dad, Larry, played baseball at the University of Florida and is currently an NFL referee that you may have seen a time or two, Gino. And some of your games with the Buccaneers.
Probably have seen him. Mark Sauls earned all tournament honors in Salem, Virginia last weekend, and he's doing a pretty good job here. Zetz with a tough running throw to first, and he got the speedy Chandler Rose. Another 1-2-3 inning for the Seminoles, as Mark Sauls has gotten off to a good start. We go to the bottom of the 2nd inning. It's 1-0 FSU. Well, you take a look into the UCF dugout. The Golden Knights have spotted Florida State a 1-0 lead as we mosey into the bottom of the 2nd inning at Dick Howser Stadium. Good crowd on hand in this Championship Sunday contest. Very hot day as you get a view into the home dugout, which is down the 3rd baseline. Florida State wearing their home gold uniforms today. UCF in gray with black numerals and hats. Florida State 1. UCF nothing. Ryan Malone, Matt Sauls, and Gibbs Chapman, batters 5, 6, and 7, due up against Mike Billick. Gave up 1 big hit in the 1st inning. A towering shot by Stephen Drew that almost got out of the ballpark. He finished with a triple and came home to score on a wild pitch. Billick with that big number 31. That's a big number on his back. He's a big kid, 6'4", 235 plus.
Well, a good start here after he was falling behind FSU's hitters in the 1st inning. He starts off and he's ahead of the count 0-2 to Ryan Malone. Now Malone's Malone has really matured. I mean, it's been a big part of the success for this FSU team as the young guys have grown up. Malone had a terrific high school career. He's hit the ball pretty well all season long. Made a lot of errors early in the year for FSU, but has really settled into that first base spot now.
0-2 pitch. Travels about 55 feet before hitting play, and it's ball one. That's a waste pitch if I've ever seen a waste pitch.
I think that was more a one that got away from him pitch than a waste.
That's hard wood down there. He's working on a spare. A ball and 2 strikes to the Seminole first baseman. Malone struck out just 19 times in his entire high school career. Coming into the regional tournament, he had fanned 41 times. A little bit different pitching in the college game than there is in high school ball.
But, I mean, still, Malone's made a nice adjustment when you see he's hitting well over 300 this year. And, you know, when you get 265 career hits in your high school career, that doesn't leave much time to strike out.
Malone hits a towering shot to right field. If it's fair, it's gone. See you later. Home run, Ryan Malone.
That was a no-doubter from Ryan Malone.
Got a hold of a bender and sent it yard. Ryan Malone from Gainesville, P.K. Young School, makes it 2-0 FSU. His 11th round tripper of his freshman season.
And he didn't have any home runs until mid-March, and that's when he started finding his power stroke a little bit. But this one is in the wheelhouse, I guess you'd say, for Malone. He saw it the whole way, just turned on it, and as I said, it was a no-doubter. The right fielder, Kevin Richmond, former FSU Seminole, didn't even turn and make a move for that. He knew it was over the fence. 3rd homer this tournament for FSU.
Ryan Malone hits it a ton over the right field fence, and Florida State doubles their advantage 2-0 in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Left-handed hitters have been a problem for starter Mike Billick, haven't they? Drew with a towering shot that almost went out of here. Bunted right back to the mound. Matt Sauls will not be able to leg out that bunt effort. Sauls, who with a play similar, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and a runner at 3rd, drove in the winning run against North Carolina. But it was a better bunt than that one. Sauls retired 1-3.
Well, we've seen a couple of poor bunts by FSU this week, and Aaron Cheeseman yesterday with runners at 1st and 3rd tried to lay down a bunt. I guess FSU was squeezing with the runner at 3rd, and it ended up being a double play as he popped out to the pitcher. So if FSU advances this week, maybe a little extra time in the cage working on getting the bunts down.
He doubled up Stephen Drew in that play yesterday. Gibbs Chapman bats next. And again, another left-hander, and they have been poisoned to Mike Billick. A triple to Stephen Drew, a home run to Ryan Malone. Let's see what left-handed hitting Gibbs Chapman can do. Gave it a pretty good rip. Billick took something off the pitch. It was dipping down and out of the strike zone. Chapman from St. Cloud, Florida, is a junior and is still looking for his first base hit of the tournament. Came into the tournament hitting a little over 300. His batting average at 306 now. Billick wheels and deals a 1-1 pitch due, and it's outside, ball 2.
Well, as a team, FSU has not hit the ball that well in this tournament. They came in hitting just .233 in the 2 games so far, the complete opposite of last week when they hit so well in the ACC tournament.
Big kick by Billick. Foul back off the screen. They hit the roof, and the count evens up to 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Of course, a big reason for that, excuse me, Gene, you know, the ACC tournament, when you go that deep into it, you're facing pitchers 4, 5, and 6 for teams, and so far, FSU's been facing a number 1 or number 2 guy this weekend, so the quality of arm they've seen so far has been better.
Get a good look at the concentration by Gibbs Chapman. Clubs 1. Knocked down nicely by second sacker Matt Ray. What a bang-bang play. Circle that play in the scorecard, folks. You won't see a better one by a second baseman anywhere today, I'll guarantee you.
Exactly as you described right there. I mean, it looked like another lefty was going to reach base off of Billick, but UCF is a team that fields better defensively and plays better defense than FSU has this year. And that's just a great job. I mean, he lays out, jumps up and sets himself, too, because he knew he had some time to make that throw. If he throws from his knees, maybe it's an errant throw, but he takes time, lets the first baseman give him a target, and a nice job there.
Florida State leading 2-0 in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Shane Robinson bats next, the Seminole center fielder, a true freshman out of Tampa Jesuit High School. They list him at 5'9", could be a little bit shorter than that if you stand next to him in the dugout. Florida State with a triple out of Stephen Drew in the bottom of the first inning, came in to score on a wild pitch. And then Ryan Malone hit a towering shot over the fence in right field here in the bottom of the second. And Florida State leads the University of Central Florida 2-0. Last year as a freshman, Mike Billick was a major part of UCF's success. He worked just 11 games, but he had a 2-0 record. And they were counting on Mike Billick to be maybe a weekend starter. Here's a hot shot, line drive right on the nose, and Matt Ray makes another good play. The highlight of the inning, the only base hit, 1 of 2 by the Seminoles, a home run by Ryan Malone. One big run, and it's 2-0 after 2. After 2 full innings, Florida State leads the University of Central Florida 2-0. In the top of the third, Richmond Butera and man slated to face Florida State right-hander Mark Sauls. Sauls, working in the third inning, has retired 6 in a row. And here's a high fly ball toward the gap, but Shane Robinson, who has played masterfully in the past of his freshman season, handles that routinely. And there's 1 away. Catch all the new Chevy Florida Fishing Report Thursdays on Sunshine. Host Whit Watson and Captain Rick Murphy deliver up-to-date news and information about what's biting and where, plus live reports from boat captains covering 7 Florida regions. Chevy Florida Fishing Report Thursdays at 7 only on Sunshine. Hadn't had a chance to get a hook wet in a long time. Tom Block, get some pointers to go out there and drop a line, catch some big fish. Great fishing, I'm told. And out in the Big Bend area, a lot of folks are enjoying a very productive spring and summer of catching fish on tour. Florida State 2, Central Florida nothing. The batter is Drew Butera. His dad played Major League Baseball, a couple of teams. Again, Shane Robinson showing his range. Runs to his left, and there are 2 away.
Well, both those plays have been routine for Robinson out there because he got such good speed. But if you look at the last 10, 12 years, it's Mike Martin has just had a terrific defensive center fielder. Now, he's had some pretty good offensive guys, too. But Carl Jernigan was out there, J.D. Drew. Shane Robinson, I mean, based on the way he's played this year, I mean, that's a guy that's going to be starting in center field for several years for FSU.
Great all-sport athlete at Tampa Jesuit High School. You know, he was offered a scholarship to play football at Duke and at Stanford.
Pretty good athlete.
Legend. Here's a looping liner to left. Chapman with a running grab. Not as easy as it looked. And a 1-2-3 frame again. 9 up, 9 down. Mark Sauls and the Seminoles are cruising. We go to the bottom of the third. It's 2-0 FSU. Florida State leads Central Florida 2-0. And we are halfway through the third inning. The Major League Baseball draft begins on Monday, and a lot of players we see here in Tallahassee are going to get a call from Major League Baseball. And speaking of the draft, how about these first-round draft choices of Florida State?
16 over the years, most recently John Ford Griffin, who was taken by the Yankees, same team that took the very first-round pick from FSU, Jim Lytle. But there's some nice names through there. Eduardo Perez, still in the bigs. Luis Alicea enjoyed a long career there. And, of course, J.D. Drew now with the Braves. J.D. was drafted twice because after the Phillies took him 2nd overall in '97, you'll recall that he chose not to play for the Phillies and sat out a year and was then taken by the Cardinals the following year.
Dennis Anderson leads off the Seminole third, then back to the top of the order with Zetch and Drew. And the Seminole third, Sackert, has had a pretty good tournament. Long ball on Friday in Florida State's win over Bethune-Cookman College. And Anderson, one of 2 freshmen in Mike Martin's, or one of 3 freshmen in Mike Martin's lineup card today. Ryan Malone is the Seminole first baseman, a freshman from Gainesville. Shane Robinson, a freshman center fielder from Tampa. And Anderson, a freshman third baseman from Jacksonville Bishop Kenny. Big kick by Billick, and the heat's outside and low. Ball 1. Waste pitch, 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. To the Seminole leadoff batter in the third. Knowles have gone long ball on Billick. Drew with a triple, came in to score on a wild pitch. And in the second inning, Ryan Malone with a towering leadoff home run. But Billick has tamed the right-handed hitters. Speaking of Dennis Anderson's home run, see you later. That one is a mile high and over the fence in left field.
Part of back-to-back homers that FSU hit on Friday night against Bethune-Cookman.
And then Zetch came up and hit a solo shot. Just managed to stay alive, got a piece of it, the tip of the bat. And Dennis Anderson will await another 1-2 pitch from Mike Billick. You think of Bishop Kenny High School, you think of Daniel Hodges, the Hog they call him, an outstanding relief pitcher for the Seminoles over the last few years. And then Tony Ritchie, of course, comes to mind, an All-American. It looked like Dennis wanted to hold back on that, but it looked too good to let go by. A breaking pitch, and he just managed to get a piece of that one.
Protect the plate.
Yeah. Anderson's first look at Billick, and he awaits another 1-2 offering. Hit it on the nose, but foul.
4 in a row, or 4 foul balls that he's hit this at bat. Now, he was not the everyday third baseman necessarily throughout the year. Again, Mike Martin really solidifying his lineup the last month or so, but Gibbs Chapman had played some third. Took 40 games or so for Mike Martin to get his lineup settled down.
Billick has already worked in 2 games this weekend, and a little bit of a surprise as the starter today. Well, I thought Brian Brooks was going to get the starting call. In fact, some of us even had it put on the card. Here's a looping liner off the glove. It's short. Richmond running is gunned down by a half a step. Just stay with it, and that's exactly what Chandler Rose did. A short hopper that sort of ricocheted off the heel of the glove as we'll watch it again.
Well, Chandler Rose, you mentioned, is a transfer from UNO, and while he was there, he was tabbed as the guy that had the best arm, best infield arm in the conference by Baseball America. He got to show it off there. He knew knows he has a cannon, and even though he had an arm injury last year, he just stuck with it and threw out Dennis Anderson.
Florida State leading the University of Central Florida 2-0. And back to the top of the order, Brian Zetch stands in. Zetch, grounded to short in the first, has had a productive weekend. 5'10" senior, Wellington, Florida. 3-year starter for Mike Martin at second base. Played short some when Stephen Drew was injured this year and last. His more natural position, just like his brother, is second base.
Yeah, there's been the Zetch name filled out at that 4-hole for a long time for FSU.
2-ball pitch misses outside, 3-0.
I think the thinking with Billick getting the start is A, he's a year more experienced than Brian Brooks is, and B, Brooks has just been better in relief. So, I mean, Brian Brooks, Jay Bergman told me, would be the first guy they'd go get out of the pen today. They wanted to get 5 innings out of Billick and then go get Brian Brooks and then play a game 2. That's if Jay Bergman gets his wish.
Well, as long as he doesn't have to throw to left-handed hitters, he's been coasting. It's those lefties that have hurt him. Another shot toward short, and again gobbled up by Rose. There's that arm you talked about, 2 down. We have seen some superb defense by the UCF infield on both sides. Back in the first inning, Stephen Drew clubbed one almost as far as you can hit it and keep it in the park off the top of that 30-foot fence in right field, and he never hesitated, sliding safely into third with a triple, and then came in to score on a wild pitch 2 pitches later. And Stephen Drew got the Seminoles off to a good start in the bottom of the first inning. We're in the third, and it's 2-0.
That triple was career triple number 19 for Stephen Drew, which ties the all-time FSU record. He's now tied with Luis Alicea, who played in the mid-'80s at FSU. But Drew, with perhaps a couple more games to play in his career, depending on how the postseason treats FSU, maybe he'll be the sole holder of that record before he finishes.
Billick's slider a little high. Drew with a good eye, and it's 2-0. 2 outs, nobody on. We're in the bottom of the third inning at Dick Howser Stadium. Great crowd for a regional championship Sunday at the stadium, named after Dick Howser, Florida State's first All-American in any sport. Dick came to Florida State in 1954, left in 58. His high school teammate was a fellow named Burt Reynolds. They grew up playing Little League baseball together down in the Palm Beach area, and both came to FSU. Burt went on to a movie career, a stellar movie career, and Dick Hauser went on to a legendary baseball career as a player, a coach, and a manager. Dick managed the Seminoles one season in 1979 before Mr. Steinbrenner offered him a pretty good check to come up and manage his New York Yankees.
You mentioned his career in the mid to late 50s. FSU's been to the postseason 42 times, and the very first appearance was 1956, and then a year later their first trip to Omaha in the College World Series was 57. Of course, Dick Hauser, the leader of both those teams.
Full count pitch due, and he got too much underneath it. A high fly ball to the wall. It's still going. It's gone! I didn't think it'd carry, but it does. Drew goes yard. His second extra base hit. Noles lead 3-0.
Well, the short porch to right center helped him, and he took the right trajectory to make sure he was going to get it over the 30-foot screen out there, right?
I didn't think it would carry. It looked like he didn't think so either. Thought he got a little bit too much underneath it. It just kept going and going. There's no wind today. Watch it again. High in the air, and I think Drew's thinking I got a little too much underneath it. See a little bit of look of frustration. All of a sudden now he gets a little more giddy up into his stride as he said, hey, this may get out of here, and it does. Well, who says Stephen Drew's been in a slump during this regional tournament, huh? Now you look into the dugout. There's Stephen Drew. The fans want him to step to the top of the steps. He does and obliges. Florida State with 2 outs gets another home run, 2 in the game today. And Eddie Martinez Esteve stands in.
Well, and that, fans that are FSU fans will remember that shot. That might be the last time you see Stephen Drew hit a home run in this park with the draft coming up. And of course, if FSU ends up hosting a super regional, if they win this regional, he'll get a couple cracks next week. But you don't know. This could be the farewell at home for Stephen Drew.
Well, he's going out in style if it is. A triple, a home run. He scored 2 of the Seminoles' 3 runs in the game. How about this? A single run in the first, a single in the second, and a single run in the third. And the Noles lead UCF 3-0. Martinez Esteve grounded out sharply to third base. Got a piece of that pitch. And just manages to stay alive. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, nobody on in the bottom of the 3rd inning.
Well, until today, with what Drew's done, really FSU made it into the winner's bracket without much production at all from 2, 3, 4. I mean, Eddie Martinez Esteve has really struggled this weekend too. He's now 1 for 8.
That nearly got him on the elbow. 3-2. A lot of pitches thrown by starter Mike Billick in the game today, and left-handed batters have had great success on Billick. There's your pitch count. 62 pitches. We're on the bottom of the 3rd. Strike 3 call. Eddie Martinez Esteve caught looking, and that'll end the inning. But in the bottom of the 3rd, 1 big base hit, a home run by Stephen Drew. And the Seminoles up their advantage to 3-0 after 3-4. Well, a third of the way through today's championship game at Dick Hauser Stadium, Florida State, the #1 seed, leads the University of Central Florida 3-0. We head into the top of the 4th inning. Florida State 3, Central Florida 0. And when it takes quality pitching to advance at a regional. If you get in the losers bracket, you're going to use a lot of arms. And UCF losing 3-2 yesterday to Florida State had to go deep into their pitching staff, didn't they?
They really did. I mean, Matt Fox, Kyle Bono, those are their 1-2. Taylor Meyer pitched last night, so all 3 of those guys are probably finished for this weekend. Now, Darren Newland is a guy that could start and could pitch a little bit today, but he threw 3 innings last night as well. So, as is the case with any tournament, if you stay in the winner's bracket, it saves the arms of the staff much more.
Tom Block, are you ready to work the middle 3 innings here?
I am indeed.
All right, take it away.
3-zip FSU as UCF comes back to the top of the order here for the top of the 4th inning. It's been 9 up and 9 down so far as Sauls has been splendid on the hill. Here is the top player in this UCF lineup in Clay Timpner, and he fouls this one off, and he's behind 1-2 to the Seminole sophomore Hurler.
Always tell a good hitter when they don't try to do something with a pitch they can't do. He went with a pitch, going to try to slap it into left field. It was a little on the outside part.
The 1-2 offering, and a good job to cut that off by Sauls, and then not such a good throw, but Malone keeps his foot on the bag. Not your typical 1-3, but it gets recorded as an out.
You know what the pitcher, you know what Mark Sauls is thinking? He said, how did I make this play? That was a bang thing right back up the middle. Look at this. And Sauls just sort of flags at it with his glove and says, wow, I made a great play. He almost made a horrible throw. When Ryan Malone does a good little Texas two-step to make that tag of the bag.
You got a quick runner there, too, and if Sauls doesn't knock that down, maybe Timner with his speed reaches her. That might be ticketed right back up the middle. I don't know that Zetch gets there.
Yeah, and if he gets on base on an error, it's as good as giving up a double because Tempner's going to test the arm of Aaron Cheeseman if he gets aboard today.
Here is Matt Ray now, and he takes strike 2. Ray flew out to left field in his first trip against Sauls and FSU. UCF trying to come out of the losers bracket and force a decisive winner-take-all second game today between these same two sides. See what he's done in the regionals so far.
Well, you've got to remember yesterday UCF didn't get anything going until the 8th inning. Had a chance to beat Florida State, falling 3-2. Had the tying run 90 feet away from home plate and couldn't produce that tying run. Had the go-ahead run at second base with nobody out in the bottom of the 8th inning.
That was a game that FSU had chances to break open more, but couldn't because Bono really settled down. Great pitch game both ways yesterday. Count full as it's fouled off by Matt Ray. UCF still looking for its first base runner of this afternoon. Ray was a member of the Atlantic Sun all-freshman team.
Fastball just missed. Can't get a whole lot closer. And a lot of umpires in the stands today thought that was a call third strike, didn't they?
And that is the first base runner UCF has had. It's the speedy Ray down there. Sauls will keep a close eye on him as D. Brown stands in.
In today's game, that is the first free pass surrendered by any pitcher.
And only the 4th walk an FSU pitcher has surrendered in this tournament. That's how well FSU has pitched. D. Brown fouls it off. D is a terrific ball player and a very good story. He's on a football scholarship at UCF, starting fullback for the Golden Knights. But had it arranged with former football coach Mike Kruzik that the deal would be that he would not go to spring football in a year. He would play baseball straight through as long as he was being used in a part of the lineup, and he's been a part of Jay Birdman's lineup since the day he set foot on campus. So a two-sport guy at UCF. He's draft eligible this year as the runner is going. Cheeseman's throw sails, and that's going to go all the way into center field, and now not even a play by Robinson over to third. And UCF with its first serious scoring threat of the day, and Cheeseman would like to have another opportunity at that one.
Throwing error on Aaron Cheeseman, sails into center field. He tried to put a little something extra on it, and Matt Ray, with outstanding speed, never hesitated. Gets a great jump on the pitcher, Mark Sauls. No way Cheeseman's going to get him. That's why he tried to put something else on it. And that ball sails into the pasture. D. Brown is going to drive in the Knights' first run. The throw wide of first base. My goodness.
Well, now Brown is going to go to second, and the throw down is in time. Florida State bailed out of shoddy defense. Brown hesitated a little, and Cheeseman atones for one throw by nailing Brown. On the play, of course, the first run of the game comes home, and this has been the thing for FSU this year. They have not been a good defensive team.
Well, watch this again. Here's Zetch. Nobody on the bag. As first baseman Ryan Malone thought he might be able to glove it. The pitcher, Mark Sauls, a little late getting over. Zetch's throw way behind the pitcher. And that enabled D. Brown to drive in the Golden Knights' first run. And then sliding into second. That was a close play at the bag. The ump said, "You're out of there, son."
I think you might have been safe looking at that replay. Here's a fading line drive, and it will drop in for the first hit of the game off the bat of Ryan Bono.
How big was the throw by Cheeseman to get D. Brown sliding into second? The umpire hesitated, and from that angle couldn't tell whether his hand came off the bag or not. If we got a different angle, might be able to see it. But the umpire looked and looked and looked, and he called him out.
I think his foot's
His
in
foot
there first.
looked like it was in safely from just about every angle, doesn't it? Stephen Drew did his part by saying, I got him. And it's
the interesting
out at second base. That was a huge call by the ump.
Well, because UCF would have runners at first and third for sure right now. Brown probably would have had to hold up on that hit by Bono. So I don't know that he would have scored, but there'd be a bigger rally going. What's interesting is they haven't given another error to FSU, which even though Brown was retired, I would think you have to have a throwing error on that play. Jay Bergman has not gone off the beat.
Well, you slow it down, and again from that first base side angle, it certainly looked like D. Brown was safe at second. There was no beef by that fellow right there, Jay Bergman, the longtime skipper of the Golden Knights. There are 2 out, and the Seminoles' wheels falling off the wagon, Tom Block.
Well, but there are 2 out in the inning and only 1 run home, as Sauls can get out of trouble here if he bears down on the batter, Marshall Bernhard. And of course, he had the big hit for UCF yesterday. They are not going to score an error on that play. Instead, they give Brown a hit, and he was retired going to second. So 2 hits in the inning, actually, and 1 run home for the Golden Knights. This one is popped up to shallow right field. Zetch ranges out, and he will make the play himself to retire the side. It wasn't pretty. It was not a work of art, but FSU escapes further damage. The Noles lead 3-1. Bottom of the 4th inning, UCF has scratched a run across, and they now trail 3-1 to FSU. The Gridiron Classic Series, showcasing memorable college football games, is back on Sunshine. Saturday, June 12th, we showcase 3 Florida State road games. It begins at noon when Warwick Dunn and Zach Crockett rush for over 100 yards each in FSU's 1994 win over Maryland. Gridiron Classics all summer long on Sunshine. Aaron Cheeseman into the hole, but a good arm for Rose, and he fires across in plenty of time to retire the FSU catcher.
Outstanding play defensively on the diamond. Chandler Rose at short, Matt Ray at second. Those guys have come up with some big plays, and they make tough plays look routine. Deep with a backhand and the long throw by Rose, and Aaron Cheeseman is gunned down. How many plays has Chandler Rose made? They have been really difficult plays, and he's just made them look easy in this game.
And he's done a good job. You can see why the experts rated his arm pretty highly.
4 assists in today's game already for the talented shortstop that transferred into UCF.
Well, Billick has pitched well against guys that stand on the other batter's box from where Ryan Malone is standing right now. Hitting from the left side has been the problem. Or hitters from the left side, rather. Drew with a triple and a home run. Ryan Malone has homered. Gibbs Chapman should have had a base hit, hitting from the left side, but a great defensive play stopped that from happening. And I think UCF has to be pleased that Billick, even though he's given up a few runs, he's eaten up some innings, and that's what Bergman wanted as Brooks warms up now. Brian Brooks is the guy that we talked about. A lot of people thought might be the starter, but he's pitched much better coming out of the pen this year, so that's how they're going to use him. The freshman Malone stands in. 2 home runs in this game for FSU, one of them by Ryan Malone, and he takes ball 4.
First walk surrendered by Billick, and his pitch count is getting up there, and Brooks probably already loose. If he loses another batter, I think Billick's work will be done. This is his 3rd appearance this weekend in Tallahassee, so he's gotten some work.
Well, and UCF's in a position where anybody that can pitch, they've got to get him in this game to try and keep it close, and then worry about who starts and pitches the next game if they get to that point. This will be his 70th pitch coming up as Matt Saul stands in there.
Both starting pitchers have walked just 1 batter. Billick has struck out 1 batter, and Mark Sauls hasn't struck out a Golden Knight in the game so far.
caroms away right there. As Malone safely scatters back.
Mark Sauls was pitching very well, had retired the first 9 batters he faced, and then he walked Matt Ray on a pitch that a lot of folks here at the stadium thought was a call third strike. And how often does that happen, Tom, when you think you've struck out somebody and you walk him, and then all of a sudden the wheels come off defensively, and before you know it, Ray's standing at third base and comes in easily to score the University of Central Florida's only run on a base hit by D. Brown that he thought he might get 2 on a throwing error and was gunned down at second base.
Craig Cozart comes out to try and settle down his pitcher. One of the things, Gene, it's interesting with UCF, and they are going to make the change. So Billick eats up a few innings, and UCF will make the change. They wanted to get him to the 6th. He lasts till the 4th, but UCF right in this thing. 3-1 as the Golden Knights are making a change. Back to Dick Hauser right after this. Bottom of the 4th inning, we welcome you back. It is Championship Sunday here in Tallahassee and all across the country at 16 NCAA regional sites. FSU in the winner's bracket, and UCF pulling out all the stops to try and force another game here today. UCF's got to beat FSU twice, and Brian Brooks comes in. You see the numbers on him. 8 walks in 39 2/3 innings and a 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. So pretty good numbers there. And again, he's been better out of the pen than at the start of the game.
Second appearance in this Tallahassee Regional. He's a strong throwing left-handed hurler, freshman from Oviedo. Named All-State after his senior season at Oviedo. And Billick with all kinds of problems against left-handed hitters. And I think Jay Bergman and his pitching coach Craig Cozart got together and said, you know, Billick has thrown over 70 pitches. Let's go ahead and bring in a left-handed pitcher. But again, you're going sort of against what you normally do when you go to the pen, because he'll be facing a right-handed batter. The first one he faces, Matt Sauls. Malone's at first with a walk.
The point I was starting to make there, Gino, is that in the Atlantic Sun, they don't, the way they play their conference games, they don't play 3 9-inning games. They play 1 9-inning game, and then they play a doubleheader. And each game is 7 innings. So what it's done for UCF, and really for all the teams in the ACE, and especially with UCF having 2 great aces, they don't get a chance to develop as many arms out of the bullpen. You certainly don't get a true feel for a closer or whatnot, as this one is grounded right to short, and it is booted. That was a tailor-made double play by a pretty good shortstop right there, and Rose just booted it.
Routine grounder. You're thinking 2 all the way, and Chandler Rose saying, oops, I didn't mean to do that. The Golden Knights are out of the inning if he makes this routine grounder and turns it into 2. You can't assume the double play, but you at least get the force, don't you? And everybody's safe.
Well, Sauls was running, so maybe it would have been close in terms of the double play, but that's a big error right now, because FSU gets a bit of a rally going, and that was most likely going to get UCF out of the inning.
Second error of the tournament by Chandler Rose, and the 5th error by UCF. You get a lot of chances at shortstop. You see his season totals 15. A change of signs now with the Seminoles having a runner at second base, and you're taught as a baseball player, if you get to second base, try to steal a sign or 2. Make it easier on your teammate at the plate.
Well, the thing right now that pitcher must do is forget the defensive miscue and just bear down on the hitter. There's 1 out in the inning. Gibbs Chapman 0 for 1. He was robbed. That 0 for 1. He thought he was helping his average when he hit it to the right side of the infield until he was robbed. This one could be 2 as well. Ray takes it, steps on the bag, and fires across. And how about that work out of the pen by Brian Brooks? He gets not 1 but 2 double play ground balls. Only 1 executed to perfection, and UCF hangs right in the thick of things. The Golden Knights trying to rally against the Noles. FSU leads at 3-1. We welcome you back. An overcast afternoon in Tallahassee. We are at Dickhauser Stadium. FSU on top 3-1. We've seen some poor defensive plays, and we've seen some great defensive plays, and this was a pretty good one by the second baseman for UCF. And then at first, a nice pick.
Yeah, he was going away from first base, so he had to bounce it to first base. Good point.
As we bring you back in, Chandler Rose lifts a lazy fly ball to Shane Robinson for the first out of the inning. Sauls, it's been smooth sailing every inning except last inning, and it wasn't as if he got roughed up that badly last inning. But some poor defense by FSU allowed UCF to manufacture a run. Here's a good bunt, and Anderson will pick it up and throw across in time. Kevin Richmond played here for 2 years, thinks he knows the turf in the infield pretty well. He was trying to play the groundskeeper role there and try to deaden that thing, but Anderson made a nice play.
And yesterday, Anderson had a chance just like this and could not make the play, held onto the ball, and the bases were then loaded by UCF in the 8th inning, and just by maybe a tenth of a step, the throw gets the base runner, Kevin Richmond.
So 2 up, 2 down. Drew Butera, the catcher, will stand in now. He flew out to Shane Robinson in center field in his first trip, and Sauls tries to work him outside.
I think Kevin Richmond worked on his bunting skills when he played for Mike Martin here at Florida State. Sure he did.
He's had a good weekend for UCF. He had a great first game against Oklahoma State.
Home run. Handful of runs batted in.
Butera to right field, but Sauls will have room. A step shy of the wall, and it's 3 up, 3 down. That's 4 out of 5 innings that Sauls has retired the Knights in order. FSU still leading by 2. 3-1 FSU leading UCF right now. And hey, the Tampa Bay Lightning have forced the biggest game in all of sports, the final and decisive Game 7, as they return to Tampa in their quest for Lord Stanley's Cup. Tomorrow night, Sunshine Network will have extensive pregame coverage live from the St. Pete Times Forum of this all-important matchup. Pregame coverage between Tampa Bay and Calgary begins at 6:30 with Whit Watson, Sandy Penner, and Sports Talk Live. At 7:30, Paul Kennedy, Rick Peckham, and the Chief Bobby Taylor will have pregame interviews and commentary during Toyota Lightning Ice Time. Then tune to Sunshine Network immediately following the game for Beef O'Brady's postgame. Live postgame reports and interviews with players and coaches only on Sunshine Network. What a game that figures to be tomorrow night. What a series it's already been. As the Lightning, in a must-win last night, prevailed in overtime. St. Louis doing the honors.
Isn't it funny the way that series has played out? The postseason for the Lightning. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one.
Well, they're ready for that streak to end, because if that streak continues, it would be a loss. I think they've set the record for that now in terms of alternating wins and losses. It's Shane Robinson, Dennis Anderson, and Brian Zetz, the 8, 9, and 1 hitters right now in the bottom of the 5th, and the tradition in Tallahassee for a long time. The animals, the fans in that section, sing "O Canada."
They heard you talking about Lightning hockey and the Lord Stanley's Cup, and they just obviously they want you sing "O Canada."
I don't think that's why they're singing, Gene, but I like your thought process there. This one is nubbed and dribbles foul. Shane Robinson, we talked about how well he's played defensively. He was the MVP of the ACC tournament last week, and his average has been climbing up, and obviously it'll improve as his FSU career goes on, but he was terrific last weekend in Salem, Virginia. This game, Gene, is playing out a lot like yesterday's matchup between these two teams. FSU's been leading the whole way, but UCF's hanging around as this one comes inside and plunks Robinson. And you wonder, FSU has not hit the ball well all weekend long. And UCF's a scrappy team. You leave them hanging in, and they could end up forcing another game.
Shane Robinson gets hit right on the leg, just above his knee. That's a tough place to take a hit, especially with a guy that relies on the speed that Shane Robinson has. He appears to be okay, and this guy's a threat to steal every time he reaches base. You don't want to hit or walk Shane Robinson when he leads off an inning. Team leader in stolen bases with 18 of them.
He's also the team leader in getting hit by a pitch. That's the 10th time he's been plunked this year, and Brooks throws over right away as Ryan Bono and UCF are obviously holding Robinson on. FSU with the leadoff runner aboard and the leadoff hitter on deck. Dennis Anderson trying to get the bunt down to turn it over to the top of the lineup and fails right there and falls behind.
Brian Brooks, in 39 plus innings of work, had hit just one batter prior to hitting Shane Robinson on the leg.
Yeah, he's had good control. We saw his numbers when he came in. Very good pitching staff for UCF. Matter of fact, if you look at the numbers, it's a much better staff for UCF than for FSU, at least in terms of the total numbers coming in.
Well, they got Fox and Bono, two of the best I've seen in college baseball.
Their team ERA is 3.18, almost or more than a full run better than FSU's, which is 4.27 coming in.
Yeah, well, Fox and Bono both under 2.0.
Yeah, and those guys, as Robinson takes off, the bunt not executed, and he safely swipes the base, and now he's going to gamble and go to third, and he'll get there. That ball just kept rolling further away from Chandler Rose, and it's a steal, and that's going to have to be an error, I would think, that allowed him to advance to third.
Yeah, Shane Robinson, I told you, you don't want to hit him, you don't want to walk him and put him on base when he's the leadoff batter. And that's exactly what happened. The nightmare scenario unfolds. He steals second, got a great jump on the left-handed pitcher, safely slides into second, and then he says, well, let me think. Okay, I think I can make it.
You know what happened?
There's nothing wrong with his leg, believe me.
What happened is Matt Ray was worried about getting taken out on the slide, and he took his eye off the ball to avoid the collision, and that's when it skipped off his glove. So it's an error on the second baseman. And now a 2-1 count to Anderson. The home crowd comes alive a little bit. There has not been a lot of breathing room for FSU against UCF either yesterday or today. But they sense that Stephen Drew and Eddie Martinez-Esteve are going to get a chance to come to the plate this inning, perhaps. The 2-1 is laced foul. And the scramble is on from the youngsters down that way to try to retrieve that baseball.
Would you say he got on that in a hurry? Jumped all over that pitch.
He might have been swinging before Brooks was in his motion.
Dennis out of Bishop Kitty, we mentioned that earlier, had that big home run on Friday. Having a pretty good tournament. 2 for 7. Two
now as Brooks is ready. Runner at third, and that one's up top, and it'll be up high, rather, a full count. FSU had several chances yesterday to break it open a little bit against the Golden Knights and couldn't do it against the fine pitching from UCF. Trying to do the same today. This one is grounded to third, and Robinson retreats. And the play made. That's a nice job all around. A good job by Robinson to not get gunned down or caught off the bag, and a nice job by Bernhard to look him back and retire Dennis Anderson.
In yesterday's game, in a battle of unbeatens, Florida State had a runner at third. Same scenario as this, with either one out or nobody out, as I recall, and still could not plate the run because a hot shot right to an infielder, and the runner was thrown out at home plate, Brian Zetch. And you're right, Robinson, good discipline not to go on that hot shot to the hot corner.
Top of the order, Brian Zetch stands in. He's grounded out twice. The infield is in for UCF. They're trying to cut off this run. You can see that at short and second, they're about 6 inches off the grass. They're coming home on a ground ball, and Zetch has hit 2 ground balls so far in this game, both to short. Those were off of the UCF starter, Mike Billick, so he has not worked against Brian Brooks until now. Boy, Robinson. He was a deer in headlights right there, and you could hear Mike Martin Jr. scream back all the way up here.
Well, Gutierrez got a pretty good arm, and he can gun down base runners with the best of them. I heard that Martin screech. That was Mike Martin Jr.
The 2-1, 3-1. This time Robinson's going back on his own.
I believe me, you don't want to get a runner at third base with nobody out and strand him there, particularly on a base running error.
Tara looks in for the sign. And he's ready. It is 3-1 to Brian Zetch. Zetch checks his swing, but that's going to be strike 2.
Well, Brian Zetch's senior year has been one to remember. His .346 batting average coming into today's ball game. 42 runs batted in by your leadoff hitter. That's an incredible number. Number he's proudest of is that walking stick 7 in the home run category.
This one is to shallow right. Robinson looks like he's going to tag. The throw from Kevin Richmond. Oh, he drops the baseball, and sliding in safely is Shane Robinson.
Well, you're going to score that as a sacrifice fly RBI for Brian Zetch. Run batted in number 43 for the Seminole senior. He's thinking, I know the guy's going, I know he's going. The put out is made. He caught the ball, but then trying to make the exchange from leather to hand, he's bobbled it, dropped it. And Shane Robinson, quickest kid on the team, is sailing toward home and slides safely with run number 4. That's a big run.
Yeah, and if he doesn't drop that in right field, I mean, that was
I think
somewhat close. Yeah, I think he's out. They were going to test him anyway. Not scored in error as the out was made. FSU answers with the run, and now Stephen Drew. Weekly grounds it to second, and the side is retired. But FSU does pick up another run. Its lead is back at 3 as we head to the 6th. UCF trying to rally, trailing by 3. We welcome you back. It's 4-1 FSU. But, Gene, look at the hits column. 3 hits for FSU and only 2 for UCF. I mean, pitching has been the story. And FSU as a team has only 17 hits all weekend long. Friday night they relied on the walks from Bethune-Cookman. Yesterday they didn't manufacture very much, at least in terms of hitting the baseball. I mean, they have not hit the ball well this weekend at all, and yet are in the winner's bracket and they're 12 outs away from going to the Super Regionals. And
another problem Florida State has had this weekend, not only have they had trouble getting base hits, but they've had trouble producing runs when they've had runners on board. They had 13 left on base Friday, 11 yesterday.
David Mann stands in there, and this one is smoked to right field. And Mann has played well here in the postseason. He has not had a good senior year, but has picked it up the last few games.
David Mann, just like a couple of fellas in this UCF lineup, when they get aboard, they're a threat to steal. Jay Bergman knows that. He's involved in a 4-1 game, and yesterday it was the latter innings where the Golden Knights made some noise and made it a close ball game. Florida State escaping with a 3-2 win.
Man down at first, and it's the top of the order now, and Clay Timpner up there. So UCF got the right guys coming up to cut into this FSU lead. Sauls has pitched well and pitched into the 6th. He's certainly eaten up more innings for FSU should they need to go to a second game.
Just looks like he may be struggling just a little bit. It looks like he's straining to throw pitches that were coming naturally in the first 3-4 innings. It's like he's trying to put a little something on it, and I think that's why Aaron Cheeseman went out to talk to his big right-hander, say, hey, just go ahead and settle down. Put it where I put my mitt. Throw what I give you the sign for.
There's a strike to Timpner. Well, if you look at Saul's last few starts, I mean, he made it 6 innings last time out, 5 innings the previous 2 starts, 6 innings the 2 before that. So, I mean, this is about where the tank starts to hit empty for Sauls.
You notice it has worked this year. 106 base hits in 86 innings. So he does give up base hits. Opponent batting averages .303.
3-1 count, and it's in there for strike 2 as Timpner was taken all the way, trying to just put some pressure on Sauls and turn it over to the next guy. So we'll have a payoff pitch coming.
University of Central Florida's hit into 44 double plays, but this is a tough combo to try to double up here if you're a Seminole fan.
And no chance there as it's ripped to right field, and Timpner's on base, and UCF here. Malone gave it a dive but couldn't get it, and you know what, if Malone's playing back, as he would when he's not having to hold somebody on. He's going to scoop that up, no problem. But because he's in, he doesn't have the angle to make this play.
Yeah, if woulda, shoulda, coulda, cannot make the diving try, and a ball hit right on the nose by Templer.
So UCF now with one swing could give us a whole new ball game. It has not been a team that has hit for much power this year. Only 25 home runs for this UCF team, but they got a big 3-run shot last night that sent them to the championship round today. Trying to bunt right now, and a good opportunity, and Sauls should not have attempted that. This is the same thing FSU did yesterday. The same exact thing that FSU did yesterday when they misheeled a bunt. Gene, I think that the third baseman's got to make that play all the way.
Yeah, Sauls sort of got in front of Anderson, and Anderson didn't have a chance, and then Sauls bobbled it. He was probably thinking, maybe I should let my third baseman make this play. Can't handle it. Well, everybody's safe, and the bases are loaded.
Well, Saul's momentum is going the wrong way. I mean, Anderson's going towards first. He's got to pick that up and throw across.
That is an error.
And you recall yesterday it was in the 8th inning as Mike Martin comes out to settle down his pitcher. Same scenario, runners at first and second with nobody out. UCF puts a bunt to third, and FSU fails to handle it, and the bases are now loaded with nobody out.
Mike Martin visiting the mound for the first time in today's game, and he's made a change.
Well, look who's standing in the batter's box.
Yeah.
As Tyler Chambliss is going to come down.
Team leader in home runs for the UCF Golden Knights, D. Brown. Tying runs are aboard with the bases juiced in the top of the 6th inning. And with a pitching change, Tom will step aside for just a moment and tell you all about Florida State's first reliever of the afternoon.
(4-1) FSU. The Noles have been in command from the start, but UCF with its most serious rally of the game, and FSU has gone to the bullpen to get Tyler Chambliss as Mark Saul's work is through, and you see the numbers on Chambliss.
He's had a pretty good freshman year, hasn't he?
Yeah, and particularly of late, the last 3 weeks of a month. You can say that about everybody on this FSU team, but 19 walks in 38 innings, 41 strikeouts for Tyler Chambliss. And in a tight spot, yesterday it was DeBlasi that got FSU out of a bases loaded, nobody out jam. Well, I beg your pardon, he actually came, Kevin Lynch came in first. DeBlasi came in with runners at second and third and nobody out, and FSU with a 1-run lead. Here it's Tyler Chambliss who will get the chance against arguably the biggest bat in this UCF lineup. Timpner leads the team in a lot of categories, but if you want to talk about the guy that's going to scare you the most when you look at the way he fills out the uniform, it's the fullback who's standing in there right now, D. Brown.
Now batting, number 32, left fielder,
D. Brown is 0 for 2 today. Well, actually, they gave him a base hit, and he was thrown out trying to reach second base after a bad throw by the second baseman. He's probably still thinking he's safe.
Well, one big swing here could give UCF the lead.
One big swing, and he'll forget about that call at second base, won't he?
Chambliss falls behind. There's nowhere to put D. Brown. UCF trying to get back into this, and this is ripped down the right field line, and it will tail foul to even the count. Bases full of UCF Golden Knights. David Mann singled, and he's at third. Clay Timpner singled as he's at second, and Matt Ray reached on the error and is down at first. The 1-1 pitch fouled off again, and it's a moot point since the error occurred, Gene, but if FSU makes that out and you have first base open right now, do you pitch to Brown or do you walk him, even though that would be putting the potential tying run on base? This one is grounded through the hole, and 1 run is in, and they're waving home Timpner. Here comes the throw to the plate. Timpner's in there safely, and it's 4-3 on a 2 RBI single by D. Brown.
D. Brown hit it right on the nose, hit it where they weren't, into the pasture in left field, and Gibbs Chapman gave it his best, but there was, with a great speed that Timpner has, you would have had to have made a perfect throw and gotten it there a little bit quicker than Gibbs Chapman was able to do. Looked like a breaking pitch outside part of the plate. Brown with that Huge swing of his, clubs it into left field, and Gibbs Chapman's up with it, throws it. But it's not going to get Timpner, and it's a one-run ball game, just like that.
Brown has 8 hits in this tournament, now has 66 RBI on the season. And UCF finds itself in the very familiar position, down 1 to FSU, latter stages of the game. Same point they were yesterday, trying to get the equalizer. Ryan Bono stands in there, the cleanup hitter. A base hit will tie it, most likely, with Matt Ray, a speedy Matt Ray, standing at second. He showed bunt initially and pulled back.
Yeah, you got the heart of the UCF lineup in there. Runners at first and second, still nobody out. You're right, it's deja vu from yesterday in the 8th inning. What Jay Bergman and the Golden Knights are hoping, they don't have the same result.
This time the bunt is handled to perfection. It was a good bunt by Bono and a good job that time by Anderson to make the play. The runners move up, and now a base hit would give UCF the lead as there's one down. The force is off, and the guy that stands in is the guy that had the biggest hit of the day yesterday against FSU for UCF, and that's Marshall Bernhardt.
Fundamental baseball. The perfect execution of the bunt to advance the runners, who are now both in scoring position with only 1 out.
Bernhardt faced a righty in Kevin Lynch yesterday and promptly deposited the baseball in the right center field gap to get UCF back into it. He would love to do the same right now against right-handed throwing Tyler Chambliss. 1 down in the inning and 1-0 the count to Bernhardt. This one is laced foul.
Almost hit the base runner, Matt Ray.
Which is why you get your lead in foul territory, so you wouldn't be out. Of course, it would have been just as painful for Matt Ray, regardless of whether he was standing on one side of the line or the other.
If he scooches the other way, he's hitting the back. He moved the right way.
Good pitch from Chambliss, and he's ahead in the count 1-2.
South Florida's a team has a better team batting average than Florida State, 306 coming into today's championship round. They're a good hit ball club. They've not hit Florida State 5-3 to this point. For UCF it is.
This one is grounded to short. The tying run will score as Drew throws across for the second out of the inning, and the Golden Knights have tied it up at 4 apiece.
Now that goes back to the execution of the bunt to sacrifice the runners ahead. That was a tailor-made double play ball. If the runners had not been advanced by Ryan Bono's bunt a batter before.
UCF couldn't have asked for this thing to unfold any better. They've gotten into the latter stages of the game using just 2 arms. They've tied this thing up. FSU has burned another of its starters, and UCF, with a clutch hit here, can take the lead. Chandler Rose, who would love to atone for an error earlier in the game, with the opportunities, 0 for 2 today, and the go-ahead run standing at third. And here comes the rain in Tallahassee. We had a rain delay last night between UCF and Oklahoma State. The 2-0 pitch, this one to deep left center field. Shane Robinson is racing, and Robinson makes the catch.
What a play by Shane Robinson, and he's down for the count. He hit that wall hard, held onto the ball, and the final out of the inning, that would have produced the go-ahead run. Robinson robs Chandler Rose of an RBI double, and he is still down.
He has done this all year long. He ran into the wall at the ACC tournament and was stunned last week as trainer Jerry Hilker heads out to check on him. You know, Gene, years ago, they didn't have pads on those walls. And I think it was Jose Zabala who knocked himself out running into the wall. This is a great catch, and then just not enough time to gather himself, and the wall stops the momentum.
What a play by Shane Robinson, and look at his teammate Stephen Drew jumping and saluting that play, and Robinson is still down. It's starting to pour down rain. Speaking of things coming down, it is rain, and the umpires are going to chase everybody into the dugouts now.
Well, he rained on UCF's parade, and now, adding insult to his injury, he's getting rained on the warning track out there.
Wow. We are in for a rain delay as they're going to bring the tarp out. Robinson is up and gets a standing ovation.
Wow. 4-4. What a catch and what a rally by UCF. We're in the middle of the 6th. Well, the picture tells the story as we welcome you back, Tom Block and Gene Deckerhoff. And the tarp comes on. We are in a rain delay here at Dick Howser Stadium. We're all even at 4-4. And it's amazing that we're still tied, Gene, because you won't see a better catch, college or professional baseball, than what Shane Robinson just did here to end the UCF rally.
Chandler Rose hits one into the gap. It looked like at least extra bases. That would have plated the go-ahead run, and Shane Robinson makes a remarkable catch in the gap in left center field. That was a tremendous baseball play. The tarp a little late getting put on there. The umpire started clearing traffic, but 4-5 Seminoles were out there in center field as Robinson was not cuckoo. And they started rolling that tarp out. It's coming down pretty hard right now. Rain delay started at 10 minutes after 3. And coming up, Tom, we're going to step aside and take a look at inside the Tampa Bay Lightning for a few, and we'll be back and update you on the rain delay in just a few minutes.
Tom Block along with Gene Deckerhoff. UCF has played well this weekend in Tallahassee. Jay Bergman said coming in that his team had a great pitching staff, and pitching has been the key. And that's what's kept them in it against Florida State. FSU has not hit the ball very well all weekend long, and UCF has now rallied with a big 3 spot, as you see in our game summary, in the top half of this inning to tie us at 4-4. Mark Sauls, prior to that inning, had been cruising along. Stephen Drew snapped out of what little mini slump he was in, if you could call it that, after going 0 for 5 on Friday. And D. Brown has played terrific all weekend long for the Golden Knights. The starting pitcher for UCF was Mike Billick. He got the Golden Knights into the 4th inning, and that's when he handed the ball to Brian Brooks, who is out there now as FSU bats in the home half of the 6th inning. Should point out, by the way, that if UCF wins this game, these two teams will play again, and UCF will be the home team in that championship game. At least that's my understanding. It doesn't have to do with higher seeds. It has to do with who's been the home team the fewest amount of times throughout the tournament.
Well, by my watch, Tom Block, the first pitch to resume play comes at 3:59, a 49-minute rain delay, and we got baseball going on again at Dick Howser Stadium.
And Eddie Martinez-Esteve has been ice cold this weekend. The guy who led the ACC in average RBI and home runs, and just gets kind of sawed off there. And it's a routine ground ball to Chandler Rose for the first out of the inning.
Last night, the hour 35 rain delay, I think, had an effect on the University of Central Florida. They sat in that dugout a long time. This team is not that deep in quality arms in the pitching. Once you have to sit down for an hour and a half, I mean, 49 minutes is long enough, but that you can't go back to your same pitch. You got to make a change. Basically, it really hurt UCF. They were fortunate to get a game-winning home run in the bottom of the 10th inning last night to win 12 tonight, but they had to play after midnight. So this has got to be a tired Golden Knight baseball team. 13
hours at the ballpark yesterday is what Jay Bergman said, as Aaron Cheeseman stands in there, the Seminole catcher. 0 for 2, and the 2-3-4 hitters really hadn't done a lot for FSU coming into today. That's changed with the 2-hitter in Stephen Drew, but Martinez-Esteve and Aaron Cheeseman continue to struggle as the opposing pitchers have done a good job against them. As I say that, Cheeseman obviously hears me and rips a single to left field for his first hit of the afternoon.
And his first hit of the tournament. Aaron Cheeseman wraps one into left field. Good hit.
0 for 3 on Friday, 0 for 4 on Saturday, and now 1 for 3 in this ballgame. Well, the momentum was all with UCF. And then Shane Robinson extinguished the rally with a terrific catch. The rains came and quieted things down, probably chased a few fans home, although most are still here. They got under shelter for the rain and are back out there now. Ryan Malone responsible for one of the FSU runs with a blast to right field for his 11th homer of the year is up there right now.
That home run came off Mike Billick, a right-handed pitcher. Brian Brooks is a southpaw.
This one is sawed off and to second, bobbled there, but they still get the force as Matt Ray couldn't come up with it cleanly. It wasn't hit that hardly, or hit that hard.
It had a funny backspin from the get-go, sort of fisted that thing toward the right field side of the infield. And man is going to try to scoop it up. It had some backspin and glanced off his glove, and you got to think about the precipitation. We had a 39-minute rain delay, even though the tarp did get on there. It took him a while to get the tarp. It rained harder before the tarp was put on than it did after they finally got that tarp rolled out. If that makes sense.
I understand what you're trying to say.
It was really raining hard when they rolled that thing out.
Runner is going to throw down and not in time, and it's a stolen base. And I think FSU just caught UCF napping right there as Malone moves into scoring position.
Yeah, his 9th stolen base in 10 tries and a big jump on a left-handed pitcher. Usually you don't get that kind of jump that Malone just got on a southpaw.
I like the fact that he didn't look back either toward the catcher as he was running. Just kept his eyes on second base and stole it easily.
Gutierrez got a cannon arm but just couldn't gun down Ryan Malone.
Well, Matt Sauls is up there right now. A 2-out base hit would give Florida State the lead that it has held throughout, or had held throughout this game until the top half of this inning.
Sauls is the kind of guy that doesn't blow you away with his stats, but he seems to come up with a timely hit in crucial parts of baseball games. Had a game winner against Oral Roberts earlier this year.
Had a big double yesterday as the count goes to 3-0. And really, when you think about a rain delay and the guys that are affected the most, as you already brought out, Gene, it's going to be the pitchers who are in some kind of a rhythm, and then they have to sit down and not throw for 45 minutes or an hour. And there's strike one. In the case of Brian Brooks, it's been well over an hour probably when you consider that the top half of the inning was a long inning as UCF rallied, and then he's been in the dugout for 49 minutes on top of that for a rain delay. And he's behind Matt Sauls. 3-1 the count. And that is ball 4 to Sauls.
In Brooks' only other work this tournament, he faced one batter. And that was all. It was one of those righty versus lefty, lefty versus righty type situations. And so he's well rested. But again, the rain delay, a lot of wear and tear on a pitcher's arm.
4-4 our score. UCF trying to come out of the losers bracket here. Force a next game, a decisive 5th game. Don't know who they'd start in that game if they get to that point. Gibbs Chapman stands in there right now. It would possibly be Darren Newland who threw last night.
He pitched 3 1/3, didn't he?
Or Brett Boardwine. Those are the two names that were kicked around, but UCF trying to force that game first. Chapman to center field, and Clay Tintner has got great speed, doesn't even need it as he moves over to grab the lazy fly ball and end the Florida State threat. We're 2/3 of the way done. Through 6, we're all even. 4-4 in Tallahassee. Top of the 7th inning, all even at 4-4, and Shane Robinson does stay in the game. He nearly knocked himself out with a terrific defensive play in center field before that rain delay, and he has been a wonderful defensive center fielder for FSU. And fans gave him a nice round of applause when they saw him come back out on the field. UCF would have taken the lead if he doesn't make this catch. What a great grab, and he paid for it. A former football player running hard into the wall. But Shane Robinson's a tough kid. He's out there, and Gene Deckerhoff's here to take us the rest of the way.
I don't think quarterbacks hit people like he hit that wall, though, do they? Probably not.
No, that was more like if he had played linebacker.
I remember a quarterback at Florida State by the name of Dan Kendra that liked to run over people. Went on, I believe Dan Kendra's a Navy SEAL now. Florida State 4, Central Florida 4, the university thereof, and we're all tied going into the 7th inning. Florida State got runs in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th. UCF got a 3 spot in the top of the 6th inning. And that's where we are. In the 7th, Florida State's Tyler Chambliss on the hill in relief of Mark Sauls. See if that rain delay affected Tyler Chambliss. The leadoff batter in the 7th is a former Seminole, Kevin Richmond. He lines one towards center. And a one-hop play in center field, and the leadoff batter aboard for the Golden Knights.
Well, Kevin Richmond last year for FSU had 5 hits all season long. He now has 6 this weekend in Tallahassee. So obviously he's enjoying the playing time as he comes back to his old stomping grounds. And he's the go-ahead run on base for Jay Bergman right now.
Jay Bergman shouting out some signs and also congratulating the kid at first base, Kevin Richmond, on a pretty good base hit. That was an 0-2 pitch that he wrapped into center field. Chambliss will work from the stretch now and face Drew Butera for the first time. Chambliss came in with the bases loaded, and that pitch all the way back to the backstop, and the go-ahead run is 60 feet closer. All the way out at second base is Kevin Richmond.
Well, Chambliss has not pitched very effectively since coming out of the pen, and here now UCF doesn't even have to bunt. I mean, that's just, Cheeseman never had a chance. The runner moves up. There's nobody out. Runner in scoring position as this is over everybody.
Wet baseball.
Maybe just didn't have the right grip on that, but whatever the case, Mike Martin's going to walk out and talk to him. I mean, Chambliss, if you look at it, Kevin Richmond, his single was a solid hit. Chandler Rose hit the cover off the baseball, and Robinson just happened to make a great catch. I mean, the UCF hitters have hit the ball pretty well off of Chambliss since he came in.
The stall walk by Mike Martin, you could time that walk with a sundial. He took all kinds of time just walking across the third baseline.
Maybe not today because I don't see the sun.
Slowly, well, that's true. Slowly walked out to the mound, and he'll have a conversation with Tyler Chambliss and catcher Aaron Cheeseman. Now, there was no activity until Martin began that long walk in the bullpen, but now you better believe there's a couple of guys out there heating up in a hurry. Home plate umpire Andy Eves going to say, hey, number 11, you better either go back to the dugout or call for a pitching change because this meeting's lasted entirely too long. Well, and 11 waited, and Mike Martin waited till he got out there to tell him, hey, let's break up this thing. Lynch and DeBlasi are working furiously in the bullpen to get ready.
Which means that Brian Schultz will be the starter for FSU if there is another game. And they'll close this one out with Lynch and DeBlasi. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Chambliss take some more time here by faking a throw to second or anything to buy some more time.
Yesterday, the University of Central Florida came from behind, trail 3-2 in the 8th with the bases loaded and nobody out. They plated 2 runs and then had runners at second and third and nobody out. And DeBlasi came in and slammed the door shut. Runner at second base is Kevin Richmond. Butera tries to bunt him a little closer to home, and the bunt is fouled away. Florida State 4, UCF 4 in the top of the 7th inning. Seminole pitcher Tyler Chambliss, after a 49-minute rain delay, trying to find that strike zone. 2 balls and a strike to count to the Golden Knight catcher. Nice bunt third base side. Only one play. The sacrifice accomplished. 1 away. But 90 feet from scoring the go-ahead run is former Florida State Seminole Kevin Richmond, who led off the inning with a base hit. Went to second on a wild pitch. And on the sacrifice is standing at third base. Good sac bunt by Butera.
That wild pitch really looms large now because a sac fly will score what could prove to be the game-winning run for UCF as we're in the 7th right now.
Batter number 9 in the order, David Mann, stands in. Got a base hit in the 6th. He's 1 for 2 today. And Chambliss still having control problems.
Mann's an interesting story. He hit .410 a couple of years ago, which was the 3rd highest single-season batting average in UCF history. And Mike Martin's going to make the change now. And I'll finish that thought on Mann in just a minute.
Yeah, if one pitch sails over the catcher's glove and hits the backstop, and the next one bounces 5 feet in front, you're about due for a pitching change, and Mike Martin has made that change. As he left the dugout, he was already signaling to the Seminole bullpen, and he wants a new pitcher. A pitching change in the offing. DeBlasi will hustle in. He's a southpaw. And as there is a pitching change here at Dick Howser Stadium, the go-ahead run is at third base. We'll step aside for just a moment. Good-looking crowd at Dick Howser Stadium, a day that we've seen rain, a 49-minute rain delay about 20 minutes ago. Good baseball game, Florida State and the University of Central Florida all night at 4-4. But the Golden Knights have the go-ahead run at third base, and Florida State has made yet another pitching change. The new pitcher is Matt DeBlasi. He does not have a decision. His earned run average respectable 3.65. At number 2 there under the save column huge yesterday, it was DeBlasi who came in with runners at second and third and tamed the Golden Knights sticks and retired all 3 batters to get the Seminoles out of a huge jam. And Florida State prevailed 3-2. Mike Martin hoping he can do the same thing today. Matt DeBlasi, whose older brother Mike was an outstanding pitcher, a relief pitcher, a closer here at Florida State. The entire DeBlasi family is up here from the Tampa Bay area.
Well, the thing that's been impressive about Matt is it appears that he's finally found some confidence. He's pitched very well in the postseason, both yesterday and at the ACC tournament. In the postseason, 10 innings pitched, 5 hits, and just 2 runs allowed. And he's really the reason that FSU is in the winner's bracket right now, because UCF had I mean, it was hard. It would have been hard not to score in the situation they were in. They had runners at second and third, nobody out, and DeBlasi did such a good job. He set UCF down without that go-ahead run yesterday, or the tying run and going-ahead run scoring.
Runner at third base, DeBlasi inherits a jam, and that's just what he inherited yesterday. Let's see how he does on this rainy Sunday afternoon. First pitch is right back to him. This is almost deja vu yesterday. One pitch, ground out to the mound, and they're 2 away. Yesterday afternoon, DeBlasi did the same thing with nobody out and runners at second and third, 2 of them right back to the pitcher's mound.
That was just a nice job right there. I didn't finish that story on David Mann, but his average has gone south, and basically teams have figured out how to pitch him. They've pitched him inside a lot, and as a small guy, he's never been able to recover really and hit at the same pace that he did a couple of years ago. Back
to the top of the order, and left-handed hitting Clay Tempner stands in. Guy that leads this team in home runs and batting average, stolen bases, has a chance to plate RBI number 33 here. Lefty versus lefty, 0-1 pitch in the dirt. Nice job, Cheeseman, to keep it in front of him. I wonder, when Matt DeBlasi came trotting in from the bullpen, if he said hello to the guy standing at third base, a teammate of his at Clearwater. They both play. I was talking about Kevin Richmond, a former Seminole. They both played at Clearwater. Countryside High School. That's a good pitch. Got the outside corner. A ball and 2 strikes. 2 outs and a runner at third.
The thing DeBlasi's done both appearances this weekend is he's just come in and he's throwing strikes. He's hitting his spots. He's hitting the corners. He's not wasting too many pitches. Been ahead in the count.
Way outside, and the count is 2-2 now. 2 outs. Kevin Richmond at third base led off the 7th with a single. Went to second on a wild pitch. Sacrificed to third. He represents the go-ahead run. 2-2 pitch, slapped foul and out of play down the left field line.
Well, Timner's a guy, you know, we've talked a lot about Stephen Drew and his potential in the draft, but I mean, Timner's a guy the pros like too. I mean, he's at least a 3-tool player. I mean, he can run, he can play some defense, he can throw. And, you know, some scouts have said he could make the big leagues as a 4th outfielder right now. Needs to have the hitting come around, and in terms of hitting for power, in terms of the pro potential. Granted, at the college level, he's hitting 370, 380 right now.
Payoff pitch due with 2 outs. Slapped down the line and fair ground. Go-ahead run crosses home plate, and Timner with great speed is at second with a stand-up double. A 3-2 offering that he just went with a pitch and slapped it where they weren't in the pasture in left field. UCF 5, Florida State 4 in the top of the 7th.
You really have to credit UCF for the resiliency they've shown, and as the best hitter on UCF's team, he just stuck with it, fouled off a couple of pitches, and then doesn't try to hit that. He hits it right back where the pitch was. You know, not a full swing, goes with the pitch, and it's barely fair, but it's the right call. And Richmond obviously scores easily, and now an insurance run at second if UCF can get another 2-out base hit.
2 outs, and the batter is Matt Ray. Florida State trying to get a little magic out of Matt DeBlasi, and you see his reaction after the base hit. He watched and was hoping it was looping toward foul ground, but it hit a foot in fair territory and produces the go-ahead run. Now DeBlasi just rearing back and throwing heat. Count evens up with a ball and 1 strike. We're in the 7th. The University of Central Florida has out-hit Florida State 7-4 and lead by 1, 5-4. Long, quiet look by DeBlasi for the sign from Cheeseman. Wheels and deals, nub toward foul ground. Big chase, Malone with a sliding grab. And that'll end the inning, but not before a leadoff base hit by Kevin Richmond produces a run when Kimner comes through with a clutch 2-out RBI double. Great grab by Malone. We go to the bottom of the 7th. Let's stand up and stretch. It's 5-4. Everybody standing and singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" as the home team falls behind 5-4. We head to the bottom of the 7th. The Tampa Bay Lightning have forced the biggest game in all of sports, the final and decisive Game 7, as they return to Tampa in their quest for Lord Stanley's Cup. Tomorrow night, Sunshine Network will have extensive pregame coverage live from the St. Pete Times Forum of this all-important matchup. Pregame coverage between Tampa Bay and Calgary begins at 6:30 with Whit Watson, Sandy Pitter, and Sports Talk Live. At 7:30, Paul Kennedy, Rick Peckham, and the Chief Bobby Taylor will have pregame interviews and commentary during Toyota Lightning Ice Time. Then tune to Sunshine Network immediately following the game for Beef O'Brady's postgame show. Live postgame reports and interviews with players and coaches only on Sunshine Network. In the bottom of the 7th inning, Florida State will send Shane Robinson, Dennis Anderson, and Brian Zetch to the plate to face freshman Brian Brooks, who came on in relief of starter Mike Billick in the 4th with 1 out, and now has a 1-1 lead to protect. 5-4. Goodwin had a notion, held back, and it's in there for a call, strike 1.
I've been very impressed with this pitching staff for UCF. I mean, we knew they had great guys at the 1 and 2 spot, but they keep going further into the pen, and the guys that they bring in are doing a terrific job really keeping FSU in check.
Robinson, looking for his first base hit, came up with a dandy play that prevented the University of Central Florida from taking the lead before the rain delay, when he made a running catch, running into the outfield wall in deep left center field. 2-2 pitch due from freshman Brian Brooks to freshman Shane Robinson.
Well, and remember, Robinson really manufactured the last run that was the 4th run of the game for FSU.
He's hitless today, 0 for 2. Reach base when he was hit. 3-2 pitch, and this one's clubbed just under the outreach glove of diving Chandler Rose at short. And the Seminoles have their leadoff batter aboard in the bottom of the 7th inning. Leadoff runner aboard with great speed. Let's see if the Seminole wheels start churning now, as Dennis Anderson will come to the plate.
Well, you'd think that Anderson would be in position to bunt right here. You've got great wheels at first, so do you give Robinson an opportunity to try to steal first, or do you just have Anderson put the bat out there and bunt the tying run up to second base, with turn it over to the top of the order?
Well, Robinson got a stolen base off lefty Brian Brooks back in the 5th inning, and that's that manufactured run you're talking about. He stole second. The throw was mishandled on the bag, and they square around to bunt. Robinson took a pretty good jump towards second and had to hurry back. There was no throw by catcher Drew Butero. Florida State trailing the University of Central Florida 5-4. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. Yesterday, UCF could not manufacture the go-ahead run. Today they do. See if it can hold up. Florida State has been tough at home. Here's the bunt down the first baseline, and Brooks will feel the underhand throw. Just gets Dennis Anderson, but the sacrifice is accomplished.
That was a good bunt.
You make sure that the first base side is where the play is going to be made.
And, you know, in sure bunt situations, I don't know that I like it when the batter doesn't square around early. He doesn't want to tip his hand, but if you're going to bunt, go ahead and get squared around so you're not going to have a poor offering at it. Here he was looking as if he was going to hit, then squared around to bunt late, but did a nice job and bunted it right up to first base, where the first baseman was holding the runner on. So it was a good job, good bunt.
Back to the top of the order. Zetch delivers a single into center field. They're going to wave Robinson. He'll round third, head toward home. He's safe for tie. Fundamental baseball. We've seen it out of the Golden Knights, and now the Seminoles retaliate. The sacrifice moves the runner to second. Great speed in Robinson, and a line drive single plates the tying run by Brian Zetch.
Well, Zetch has had a terrific weekend and done a great job at the leadoff spot. And he just puts this in play. And Robinson, I think his velocity or his speed was still increasing as he got towards home plate. I mean, he turned third and then just really turned it on.
Well, this ball was hit on the nose, and he had to wait to see if it was going to be caught. He realized it was going to fall in. Mike Martin Jr. was waving him all the way. Hey, if I got a speed guy like Robinson on the bases, I'm waving too. Zetch's second run batted in today, his 44th of the season. And up next, Stephen Drew.
Well, now you got more speed at first base. I mean, you have the potential for Zetch to try to steal second and get in scoring position for Drew. Of course, you leave him on first, it opens up that gap between first and second. And Stephen Drew, a lefty, has gotten many of his career base hits right in that hole, ripping it to right field.
Drew Butera is a tough guy to steal on. Let's see if Zetch is going to get the green light. Tie game in the 7th, 5-5. On the hill, southpaw Brian Brooks saying, let me just get this guy. Drew with a triple and a home run is 2 for 3 today.
He's gotten the hard part of the cycle done. He hit for the cycle a few weeks ago.
First Seminole in a long time to hit for the cycle.
That was either against, I guess it was against Wake Forest, I think.
1-1 pitch, a dangerous hitting Stephen Drew. Lefty versus lefty. Decent lead at first, runner not going, and the umpire says time was requested. Drew, after Brooks took a long time on the hill, staring down Zetch at first, and Drew just stepped out of the batter's box. And home plate umpire Andy Eve saw him ask for time and said time as Brooks was going into his wind. Florida State has not scored more than 1 run in any frame today. Single runs in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Another singleton in the 5th and 1 more here in the 7th. And the Seminoles have come back to tie the University of Central Florida 5-5. FSU trailed 5th-ranked Georgia Tech 6-1 going into the latter innings a week ago Saturday in the Atlantic Coast Conference Tournament. Off-speed pitch really had Drew handcuffed, and he just managed to make contact. It fouls it away. The count evens up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. A runner at first and 1 out.
You know, Drew responsible for a couple of the FSU runs, but the home run he hit in just about any other ballpark in America, it's just a fly ball to center field. But here with the short porch, it ends up being the reason we're tied right now.
Mike Martin up on the step of the home dugout. At least for this regional tournament, if you're a regular follower of Florida State, the Seminoles this year moved to the first base dugout. But in NCAA tournament action, the home team has to have the third base dugout. Well, Brooks is going to keep Zetch close to the bag at first base. It'll get a little razzing by the fans in Section B. The Arkansas Regional is the one that Seminole fans are keeping an eye on. Should Florida State prevail here in the Tallahassee Regional, they're bracketed with Arkansas. That game is tied up 4-4. So a good one going in Fayetteville as well.
Well, and Arkansas is in the losers bracket. They have to beat Wichita State twice today. And obviously UCF and their fans have a keen interest in that game too, depending on how this tournament plays out.
Interesting that Wichita State, Gene Stevenson, the head coach, the winningest coach active in college baseball, second winningest. Towering shot. Is it fair or foul? It's looping. Foul. As Drew got all of that one, a 3-2 pitch from Brian Brooks, and Brooks will not throw that pitch again, believe me.
I don't know what he'll throw here, but it won't be that one.
He may throw this one way outside because that one got into Drew's wheelhouse and he turned on it in a hurry. And that one was still going when it cleared the fence out there.
It's been a sweet swing to watch over the years. JD and Steven, those left-handed strokes look so similar.
Another full count pitch due, payoff pitch due for Brian Brooks. This one is hit into center field, and Tendler chases it down to the warning track. So it's a loud out for Stephen Drew. And the Noles, who have plated the tying run here on the bottom of the 7th, have 2 outs and a runner at first for Eddie Martinez Esteve.
Good job by Brian Brooks to battle back. Got to have a short memory as a pitcher and just forget that the batter just absolutely tattooed your last offering. Just was out in front of it. Did a good job to battle back and retire Drew. And, you know, normally you'd have a lot of trepidation about facing Eddie Martinez Esteve, but the way he's played this weekend, UCF might be in a good spot here.
Well, you got lefty versus righty, so maybe The fourth time is the charm for Eddie Martinez Esteve. He's worn the collar today, 0 for 3. Struck out looking in the third, grounded out in the sixth, and grounded out in the first. The pitch is a little outside. Ball 1. But when you think Eddie Martinez Esteve, who led the Atlantic Coast Conference most of the season in hitting, he has driven in 79 runs. That is a huge number in the college game. You'd think he's about due, wouldn't you? He thought so too. 1-1.
Well, and he's draft eligible this year too. He's just finishing his sophomore year, but because of his age, he will hear his name called early in the draft tomorrow, I would suspect. He was a high draft pick, coming out of high school.
Yeah, 1 for 10 today. Runner at first. Florida State 5. UCF 5. Runner going. Butera's throw is a little off the bag, and Zetch is safe at second base and represents the go-ahead run for the home team. Zetch again got a real good jump off Brian Brooks. The throw by Butera a little off the bag, but I think Zetch would have had the bag stolen had it been on the money. Brooks to the belt, 2-1 pitch due. Inside low, 3-1. This is a hitter's pitch, and Brooks has got to be very cautious with Eddie Martinez Esteve at the plate. On deck is Mr. Kletch, cleanup hitting Aaron Cheeseman. The 3-1 taken all the way by Martinez Esteve, and it's in there for a call strike 2. So the count is full on the Seminole designated hitter for Miami Westminster. He's a pretty tall kid if you stand up next to him, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been an RBI machine this year. Just won this weekend, though, for
Eddie. The pitch off the fist and into foul ground and out of play. Off the screen down the first base line, and we'll get another payoff pitch. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Runner at second, representing the go-ahead run in a 5-5 score, bottom of the 7th inning.
And just about any base hit is going to score his edge. With 2 outs, he's going on contact, and he's got good speed to begin with. Anything that leaves the infield, they'll be waving him home.
Mike Martin looks on from the dugout. Another payoff pitch due. The big kick. And this one's hit high in the air. Deep right field. Running after it is Richmond. He'll make the play, running toward the foul line. So both Drew and Martinez Esteve give it rides, but both are caught in the pasture. We have completed 7 full innings. Good ball game. Tied at 5-5. We go to the 8th inning at Dick Howser Stadium. Good baseball game between 2 powerful baseball programs in the Sunshine State, Florida State and the University of Central Florida. UCF comes as an at-large team. Florida State representing the Atlantic Coast Conference as the tournament champion. Have we said happy birthday to Nick Gandy yet? Or how about Gary Nicholas?
Both turned 30 this weekend.
Yeah. By the way, before the game, had a chance to visit with Dick Pace, legendary coaching career out of the Orlando area, and he's up with some friends that are cheering on the UCF Golden Knights. But he primarily is known as one of the top officials in the game of basketball and is in the Florida Sports Hall of Fame as an official. I think the only official in the Florida Sports Hall of Fame, who will induct another class tonight down at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg. Among those honored, Nick Bollettieri, who will be introduced, by the way, by Dick Vitale. His daughter went to the Bollettieri Tennis School. And also Paul Azinger, former Florida State Seminole. D. Brown's dad's being inducted, and he just hit one a mile toward the left field wall. It's out of here, and UCF leads 6-5. D. Brown has been a one-man wrecking crew, driving in yet another run today, his 5th homer of the season.
D. Brown may be the MVP of this regional, whether or not UCF advances or not. He's had that kind of a weekend.
Florida State will have to battle from behind again. We're in the 8th, and D. Brown just clubbed one. Knocked the hide off of this baseball. See you later.
He ripped it good, and it was just a question of could Gibbs Chapman get there? It just barely snuck over the wall.
Florida State trailing 6-5, and the University of Central Florida now has a 1-run lead. D. Brown rounding first. His late father, Jerome Brown, would be so proud of that young man. Two-sport athlete at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. And he has just given the Golden Knights a 1-run lead. Florida State trailing 6-5. We're in the 8th inning.
He's got half the RBI today for the Golden Knights and 4 in this tournament.
There's D in the visitors' dugout. He wants to play 2 today, doesn't he?
Well, prior to him hitting that home run, I was thinking, looking at it, that the last thing either side, but particularly UCF wants, is an extra innings game with the situation that their pitching staff is in right now.
Swung on and missed. He struck him out. So it's feast or famine for Matt DeBlasi. Gives up the gopher to D. Brown and then strikes out cleanup hitting Ryan Bono. Made him go after a pitch way out of the strike zone. That came in about as big as a water. Look at that thing break away from the left-handed hitter.
Yeah, he just goes fishing. Needs a longer bat to hit that. That was well off the plate, and he knew it.
Needed something more than a longer bat to reach that one.
That's the first strikeout by an FSU pitcher today, Gene.
Isn't that something? I was just looking through the scorecard, thinking the same thing.
You know, D. Brown, I mean, he's the hero of the moment for UCF. And we talked about the fact that he splits his time with football. He has really not tapped into his baseball potential a whole lot yet, because even though he doesn't play spring football, he never plays fall ball for baseball, and he never plays any of the summer league ball, the Cape Cod stuff that these guys have an opportunity to do. He shows up in mid-January, has 2 weeks to get ready for the season, and then it's play ball. So at the point when he devotes himself one way or the other year-round to one sport, particularly if he chooses baseball, I mean, I think that's really when you're going to see him fulfill his potential.
3-0 pitch. Gets the outside corner, and it's 3-1. The batter is Marshall Bernard. And Bernard trying to get something going with 1 out now. UCF has taken a 1-run lead, a lead-off home run. Strike, 2 foul tip. Tried to get out of the way of a pitch a little inside, it looked like, and it hit the bottom of the bat. DeBlasi says, I'll take it. Yesterday, Matt DeBlasi came in with runners at second and third and nobody out, and was magical. Today, the Golden Knight hitters are having a better outing against DeBlasi. A good solid base hit on a 3-2 pitch into left center field. Second hit of the inning, Bernard at first base with a bingo, and Chandler Rose will bat for the Golden Knights.
Well, you got to remember, as this tournament goes on, these two teams didn't play or don't play during the regular season. They get a chance to scout each other. They scouted on Friday in the opposite games, but the more often they see him, the more they know the book on each other.
Pickoff move, runner was going, committed early, and Drew is going to chase the runner back to first. Now Malone will make the tag. Score it 1-3 to 6-3. The runner erased on a base running miscue. Caught stealing Marshall Bernard. And that's the second out of the inning. Exactly how you're supposed to play it. Now Drew is going to run him back to first, and then toss to Malone, who will make the putout. Now Matt DeBlasi with nobody on will wheel and deal. And throwing strikes to Chandler Rose. 2 down. Damage done on the leadoff home run. Big cut by Rose. Rose from Fort Myers, played at New Orleans, transferred to the University of Central Florida. Awaits an 0-2 pitch. Waste pitch way outside, 1-2.
Threw it right to where Cheeseman set up, but Rose wasn't fishing.
UCF has out hit Florida State 9-6, and they lead the Seminoles 6-5. Another 1-2 pitch due.
And again, I mean, the hits tell the story, because FSU coming into this game was hitting .233 this weekend, and UCF was the best hitting team in this regional at .306.
Now back to the screen, somewhere down in the Fort Lauderdale area. Grandma Crosby is watching today's game on Sunshine. 91 years young. Her son Jim Crosby, who works radio for the Florida State Seminoles, said, "Say hello to my mama for me, will you?" And I just did. Strike 3. And that'll end the inning, but one pitch too many to D. Brown. Started the inning. 1 big blow gives the Central Florida Golden Knights a 6-5 lead. Bottom of the 8th coming up. Noles lead 1-tie. Florida State trailing Central Florida 6-5 as we head into the bottom of the 8th inning. There you see a strong contingent of Golden Knight fans at Dick Howser Stadium. They've had to weather 2 long rain delays, one last night, an hour and a half, and a little longer than that. Then today, 49 minutes. Coming up later on Sunshine, many of you will have a chance to see UCLA, Florida. Lead off blast by Cheeseman, and at the track, former Seminole Kevin Richmond makes a leaping play to rob Cheese of maybe an extra base hit. 1 down, 1 pitch, 1 loud out.
Well, Richmond has been an infielder during his college career, and frankly, he looks like an infielder playing the outfield, but he's done a nice job out there. A couple of times he took the wrong route to get there, but did manage to have enough to make the catch. He's done a nice job. He had that one bobble on a fly ball on a sac fly where he dropped it in trying to switch to his throwing hand.
Florida State trailing by a run, and Ryan Malone will stand in. Malone got off to a great start today for the Seminoles as he hit a towering home run over the fence in right field from the get-go. That was out of here. Since then, he's walked and hit into a fielder's choice. Malone did steal a base back in the 6th after that fielder's choice at bat. That one hitting right between the shoulder blades. No way he could get out of the way of that one. Malone is at first base yet another time. 3rd time he's reached base today. 4th time he's reached base. And that one hit him right between the shoulder blades.
But he didn't seem to be in a lot of pain. Instead of right down to first. I like Ryan Malone. And really, he's going to be the backbone. Yeah, he just turned away from it. Caught it there towards the right shoulder a little bit as he turns in. But I mean, he's going to be when Drew and Martinez-Escudero is gone, you're going to look at him as being the big bat in this lineup next year.
They'll keep Malone a little closer to the bag this time. Malone got too good of a jump on Brian Brooks in the 6th inning. Stole second, was stranded there. But he does have speed. Has stolen 9 bases now, including that one in the 6th inning. Let's see if they send the runner trailing by 1. Not going. Grounder. Seeing eye thing, glove, but there will be no throw. That's an infield seeing eye base hit for Matt Sauls. And the Seminoles have something cooking in the home half of the 8th inning. It's 6-5, University of Central Florida by 1. But the Seminoles have the tying run at second and the go-ahead run at first with only 1 out.
It looks to me like Brooks is starting to tire just a little bit, although he's pitched pretty doggone well coming in relief for Jay Bergman.
Mike Martin having a conversation with Gibbs Chapman, and now there will be a visit first to the home plate umpire Andy Eves by pitching coach Craig Kozert. And the umpire Andy Eves is looking for his scorecard. And Kozart now is going to walk out to the hill. After the long fly out hit by Aaron Cheeseman, the leadoff batter of this inning, I was about to comment that Brian Brooks may be the unsung hero of this ballgame. The freshman comes in relief of Mike Billick and has, for all intents and purposes, tamed the Seminole Sticks. Has given up just 1 run, and that was that manufactured thing back in the 5th inning when he hit a batter, Robinson, who stole a base, came over to third on a throwing error, and then scored on a sacrifice fly. And that gave Florida State an important run.
4 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 walk. Has hit 2 batters, but I agree, he's pitched well as Craig Kozart is done delivering his message. And you got great speed on the base paths for FSU right now in Malone and Sauls. Well, the tying and the potential game-winning run.
The visit over. Gibbs Chapman, after a conversation with his skipper, gets ready to bat. He hits one on the nose, a mile high in the air. It's still going back to the track. Timler's going to make the catch up against the wall, and the runners have to scurry back. Matt Sauls was all the way down to second base when that catch was made. Well, and Chapman nearly hit one out of the ballpark.
I don't agree with what Ryan Malone did there. I think he should have tagged on that to a ball that deep to right center field. The runner on first goes halfway in case it drops in, but Malone there, he could clearly see that the outfielder had it measured. He was 3 steps off second base. All he has to do is go back and be on second, wait for the catch, and he's easily going to get to third. He's not going to get thrown out from there. One hand was on the wall for Clay Timpner. And as they run it in, Matt Sauls comes scurrying back to first.
Well, maybe a freshman mistake on the bases by Ryan Malone, but then again, hey, you don't want to be the final out at third base, you know, when you got a chance with just 2 out now to get something going and tie this ball game. That may have been the thinking too.
Yeah, and I think that's the way FSU normally plays it. So he may well have been playing it the way that he's been coached to play it. I just think there's some circumstances, particularly when one's hit that deep to the outfield, when you can make it to third, go ahead and get there.
And then you have to wonder, was third base coach Mike Martin Jr. saying just wait, not giving it to go ahead and tag up and come on. Robinson, the batter.
Of course, a base hit by Robinson makes it all a moot point.
Got a base hit and scored the 4th run of the game for the Seminoles, or the 5th run of the game for the Seminoles back in the 7th inning. That tied the game at 5-all, and UCF now has retaken the lead 6-5, bottom of the 8th inning. And Robinson's going to step out of the batter's box, and catcher Drew Pachero will trot out to the mound. I think they're going to change the signs up right now. That's the reason for it, because as the longer Butera gave the signs, the more Ryan Malone was looking in, and then Shane Robinson stepped out of the batter's box. He's going to get some help from his teammate out there at second base, I'll bet you.
And everybody knew there was time except for Brian Brooks, who was going into his windup, and Butera was going to be about 30 feet away when he was going to have to make the catch.
Did he have his face mask on? 1 ball, no strikes, the count to freshman Shane Robinson. Off-speed pitch hangs outside, ball 2, 2-0. Robinson 1 for 2 today officially. He has reached base twice, once was hit and got a base hit, and he has scored 2 runs. Shane Robinson will be the Seminole leadoff batter next season, you would suspect. 2-0 pitch, hitter's pitch coming. In there for a call, strike 1, got the inside corner.
You know, thinking back to that play where Malone didn't tag, I do need to credit Clay Timpner, who, I mean, we've talked about him being a potential 5-tool guy. He does have a great arm out there, and maybe part of FSU's plan was not to test Timpner if he's got the ball.
You never want to make the last out at third base.
Golden rule.
Fisted into center field. Timpner's got it measured, and that'll do it. In the inning, the Seminoles get a couple of base hits, strand both runners. We've completed 8 full at Dick Howser Stadium. It's Central Florida 6, Florida State 5. The University of Central Florida leads Florida State 6-5, the number 3 seed, with a 1-run lead going to the 9th inning. At Dick Howser Stadium, the number 1 seed, 16th ranked Florida State, needs to manufacture 1 run just to tie in the home half of the 9th, barring, of course, more runs scored here in the 9th by the Golden Knights. It would take 2 to win it. It is double elimination on Championship Sunday. Florida State beat Bethune-Cookman College on Friday. Edged the University of Central Florida 3-2 yesterday, and today in a dandy of a game against the Golden Knights, trailing 6-5 in the 9th. Should Central Florida win game 1 today, the championship game would be game 2, 40 minutes after this one is over. On the hill, Matt DeBlasi throwing strikes, and Kevin Richmond trying to get something started, needing some insurance on the road at Dick Howser Stadium, where Florida State is a tough team to beat.
Well, in UCF, I mean, in the history against FSU, UCF is just 3-18 all time against Florida State. So they have not broken through a lot, and they're 3 outs away from accomplishing that here today. The last time they did so was in the 2000 regional. It was in a Saturday game. UCF prevailed 9-8 over FSU, and then Florida State came back and beat the Golden Knights twice on Sunday to win that bracket.
Grounder up the middle, gobbled up by Drew. Richmond is safe at first. Probably a throwing error on the Seminole All-American shortstop. A little high. Malone tried to tag. It's an error on Drew. And Kevin Richmond reaches first base on a throwing error.
Well, and Drew had time with his arm here. It just sailed on him a little bit. And credit Kevin Richmond for running that out. and ducking under the tag of Malone. This has not been a good defensive team this year for Florida State.
Richmond on base for the second time in a row, and he's a threat to steal. He's stolen 13 bases. Seminole infield expecting a bunt. Anderson came running in from third. Malone 2/3 of the way into the batter's box area before the pitch was thrown. He's got a runner to worry about back there at first base as well. The batter is Drew Butera, who laid down a perfect bunt to advance Richmond back in the 7th inning. Richmond then came around to score the tying run. And in the 8th inning, D. Brown led off with a solo home run. This time, Butera was swinging. Malone put on the brakes halfway up the line. Florida State trailing the University of Central Florida 6-5. The Golden Knights have out-hit the Seminoles 9-7. Matt DeBlasi on the hill trying to figure out a way to get 3 outs here in the 9th and hope his teammates can come from behind yet another time. Noles 25-7 this year at home. 5 of those 7 losses came to top 5 ranked teams. The Miami Hurricanes took 2 of 3, and then Georgia Tech came in and just absolutely shut down the Seminoles. At that time, Georgia Tech was not ranked in the top 5, but they finished the season ranked number 5 in the country. There's another nice bunt by the Central Florida backstop, and again, fundamental baseball soundly executed by the Golden Knights. Boy, Butera is quite a bunter, isn't he? That's 2 beauties.
When you're called upon to bunt, all you have to do is execute what the coach is asking you to do, and we've seen UCF do that today. Here you see him square around. Nice job to bring the bat back as the ball came in, too, to deaden that thing a little bit.
Fundamental baseball, and the Golden Knights have demonstrated outstanding fundamental baseball skills in this tournament in Tallahassee, and they have a 1-run lead in the 9th inning over the 16th ranked Seminoles, the number 1 seed in this Tallahassee regional. Got a pinch hitter now to face Matt DeBlasi in the 9th inning. The batter is John Cooper. There's number 1 on his jersey. He will pinch hit for designated hitter David Mann. Mann had 1 base hit and 3 plate appearances in the ballgame. A runner at second base, just 1 out now. And John Cooper, the pinch hitter. DeBlasi's heater a little outside. 1-0.
Well, Cooper played for Frank Viola in high school.
He did.
For 4 years at Lake Highland. Of course, Frank Viola has worked with us here at Sunshine.
1-0 pitch. This one inside and low. Ball 2. DeBlasi's got to find the strike zone. On deck, dangerous Clay Tempner. Tempner's 2 for 4 today, including a double that drove in a tying run back in the 7th. You want to get this guy. Pinch hitting John Cooper if you're Matt DeBlasi. There's a strike in there.
Yeah, and FSU's kind of getting to the position where they'd like to have DeBlasi just finish it out than having to get another arm out of the pen, considering they're now staring at the probability of having to go another game here. So they'd rather not have to get Kevin Lynch or anybody else into the game.
DeBlasi's big kick over the outside corner, and Cooper went after it and slapped it foul. 2-2. After getting behind 2-0 now, DeBlasi has come back with back-to-back strikes. At second base, former Seminole Kevin Richmond represents insurance for the Golden Knights. Kevin Lynch continues to heat up in the Seminole bullpen. You saw him there. See if DeBlasi can get the pinch hitter. Took something off that bender, and it's slapped foul again. And another 2-2 pitch due the Golden Knight pinch hitter. Batter number 9 in the order.
FSU will have the right part of its order coming up for their last crack in this game.
DeBlasi bluffs the runner back. Nobody really covering the bag, and Kevin Richmond just sort of trots back and steps on top of that second base bag out there, and we'll look in for another side. 2 balls, 2 strikes. There's Richmond, the runner. Not a real big lead at second base. Big kick to DeBlasi, and another foul ball. John Cooper, a pinch hitter, saying, hey, I'm going to get my money's worth at home plate off this guy. Florida State scored a run in the first, one more in the second, a run in the third, one more in the fifth. And that's where they stand, 6-5.
Really a game that, as we talked about, a lot like yesterday's game. FSU led, UCF rallied. The only difference is yesterday UCF could never grab the lead. Today they've done so.
6-5 in the ninth. De Blasio's pitch way outside and a full count offer. Forthcoming from the Seminole left-hander. Yeah, running the first, second, third, fifth, and seventh. For the Seminoles, Central Florida scored a big 3-spot in the sixth inning, added one more in the seventh, and another in the eighth off D. Brown's solo home run. Here's a high fly ball, right field side, shallow right field. Under it, Sauls makes the catch. Runner bluffs. Will not challenge Sauls' arm. And there are two down now.
Similar to last inning when FSU had a chance to tag, except that was not nearly as deep.
Now batting number 4, center fielder Clay Tippler.
All Richmond did was bluff a little to draw the throw.
Cooper flies out, pinch hitting in the number 9 spot in the batting lineup card, and back to the top of the order in Clay Templer. Went with a pitch in his last at bat, slapped it just in fair ground down the left field line, and before the Noles could get it, Gibbs Chapman could get it back into the infield. Templer, with blazing speed, was standing at second base with an RBI double. That run tied the game in the seventh, and then D. Brown gave UCF the lead with a home run, a line drive that just barely cleared the wall in left field. Richmond at second. Here's a line shot toward right. That will produce another run. Fair by a foot. It rolls and rattles around in the corner, and back-to-back RBI doubles by Clay Tippler has given UCF some valuable insurance in the top of the ninth inning.
Well, we've seen two balls. It's cliche. They say it's a game of inches. We saw one down the left field line that was barely fair, and now one down the right field line that's barely fair as we look at it again. And this is huge insurance. The difference between 1 and 2 runs will be big with FSU's best hitters coming up. But you can see about a foot fair, just as the other one was down the left field line.
A 2-out single chased down in the corner by Sauls, and before Sauls could pick it up, Kevin Richmond had rounded third and was heading home. And the University of Central Florida Golden Knights have a 7-5 lead, and Mike Martin's going to have to go to his pen yet another time. De Blasio's work is through. Sauls started, Chambliss relieved, and then De Blasie with one out in the seventh. And now a new Seminole pitcher. We'll tell you all about him after we step aside for this message. Well, Clay Templer's RBI double has chased Matt De Blasie, and Mike Martin has gone to pitch at number 4 on today's first game against the University of Central Florida. There's Mike Martin in the dugout making his notes on his card, but Templer chases De Blasie, and Kevin Lynch will come in relief. Lynch pitched to one batter yesterday, gave up a 2 RBI double that made the score 3-2 in the 8th inning. And that was the only batter he faced. He's worked 35+ innings. You saw his numbers. And he's in here now with a runner at second base. And Central Florida leading by a pair, 7-5.
I don't think there's a lot of concern that he got hit yesterday, Gene, because in the postgame, Mike Martin said he walked out and heard the same thing from both Kevin Lynch and Aaron Cheeseman, which was, Coach, we hit our spot. In other words, he made the pitch that they wanted there, and it was just a good job by the hitter to go ahead and hit what was a good pitch. So I think the bigger concern for FSU is going to be that just like UCF, they're going to run out of arms as we get into a second game, should we go there.
Well, in the 9th inning now, the University of Central Florida leads 7-5. If UCF wins this one, we play another one in about 40 minutes after the final out. If Florida State can rally and come from behind and hit in the game-winning run in the bottom of the ninth, the championship crown belongs to Florida State in the Tallahassee region.
Oh, yeah, 2-0, here we go.
2 balls, no strikes the count, 2 outs and a runner at second base. For the Golden Knights of Central Florida, Kevin Lynch looks in long for the sign. Now he's ready. Checks the runner and throws heat in there for a call, strike 1.
And he wants to get Ray right now because D. Brown is waiting on deck.
Well, those of you tuning in for coverage of the Florida Gators and their regional from Oklahoma City, the start time of that game has been delayed until 5:30 Eastern and is not yet underway. Here's a fly ball, shallow center. And Robinson makes easy work of it. We'll keep you posted on the status of the start of that game as this one draws to a conclusion. Should UCF win, some of you will watch game 2 of the UCF FSU game. The rest will tune in to the UCLA UF game. We go to the bottom of the ninth. The 2004 NCAA Baseball Regionals on Sunshine Network are brought to you by Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. Bell South Answers, more choice of services, all from one company, all on one bill. Bell South, listening, answering. Now Florida State with 3 outs to work with in the bottom of the ninth inning, trailing the University of Central Florida by 2-7-5. On the campus of Florida State University, a rainy kind of day, the rain going away from us. Hopefully, if we have to play game 2 earlier today, a 49-minute rain delay before they rolled the tarp away.
Pinch hitter up there, Danny Wardell, grabs a bat to hit for Dennis Anderson.
And he hits a pitch a mile in the air. Left field side of the outfield. Big chase by D. Brown. He almost overran it. Makes the one-handed grab, 1 away. So Danny Wardell hit it a mile in the air. Didn't get very much distance out of it. And there's 1 down. Knowles down to their final 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth inning. If the University of Central Florida wins, again we mentioned, there will be game 2 as the regionals feature double elimination play.
Brooks has been unbelievable today since coming in.
And remember earlier, there was thought that Brooks was going to start the game, and then the decision made by Jay Bergman to start Mike Billick instead of Brooks because Billick was a year older.
And because Brooks pitched better out of the pen. I guess Bergman knew the scouting report on his own players.
I guess he did. Right now, he's pulled the right strings at the right time. Back to the top of the Seminole order, and Ryan Zetch.
I think you've really got 2 teams that are pretty evenly matched, as the games would reflect.
Brooks just misses inside 3-0. With a 2-run lead in the ninth, you don't want to walk a batter for Stephen Drew, do you? Drew on deck, and then Eddie Martinez Esteve.
Yeah, you got to think Zetch's job here is to just watch the ball go past him.
If the bat comes off his shoulder, he may not play in game 2. Ball 4, and Zetch gets a free pass to first. The tying run comes to home plate. That walk is just the second of the game by a Golden Knight pitcher. Billick walked 1 in the 4th, and Brooks walks 1 here in the 9th.
Well, and I think the thing now for Brooks, he's got one of the premier players in the country standing in the batter's box. He needs to not worry about Zetch and get distracted. He needs to bear down and worry about Stephen Drew.
Stephen Drew struck out 3 times Friday in the Bethune-Cookman College game. That matched a season high for the All-American shortstop, who on Monday is going to be named by one major league club in the first round of the Major League Draft.
Maybe right at the top with San Diego.
0-1 pitch. Outside corner, call strike 2. And now Brooks is in command.
I would say he's bared down and paid attention to Drew. It's not that Zetch, he wants to let Zetch get a huge lead and whatnot, but I mean, Zetch's run means nothing. It's a 2-run lead for UCF. Drew's the guy he's got to be concerned about.
It's a 1-run game. They might be running him. Down 2. He's camped at first base. Brooks has got to know that. A ball and 2 strikes now as that waste pitch nearly got by catcher Drew Butera. Good job by Butera to knock that thing down.
Well, and Zetch has got to be careful and cautious on the base paths, too, for the same reason. His run means nothing, so he doesn't need to try to take an extra base or anything like that. Just be safe, whatever you do.
1-2 pitch. Strike 3, call. Drew never offered. It got the outside corner. And for a freshman pitcher, that is a huge pitch. Brian Brooks, pat yourself on the backside.
Well, Drew thought it was off the plate. He was already repositioning for the next pitch. But you really got to credit Brooks right there. I mean, yeah, it was outside corner for sure. But, you know, you're talking about a freshman. against the guy that might be the top pick in the draft tomorrow, and he just completely mowed him down.
His first strikeout since coming on in relief of the 4th inning for starter Mike Billick. And it comes with a runner at first base and Drew representing the tying run at home plate. And there are 2 away now for the Golden Knights to advance one more game in this 2004 season. Now, Butera had a short visit on the hill. You look into the UCF dugout. There's Jay Bergman, 22 years the head coach of the Golden Knights. Boy, 22 years.
Well, he's got a field named after him. He must be doing something right.
Coached at the University of Florida for a while. Came out of the junior college ranks, as so many of the great ones do. Well, 1 ball, no strikes. The batter is Eddie Martinez Esteve,
who's every bit as dangerous as Drew is, even though he hasn't hit the ball well this weekend.
And here comes pitching coach Craig Cozart. And he's got the hook in his pocket, and he says, you know, I don't like the odds of a lefty versus a righty, particularly when my freshman left-hander has pitched so well. We got a right arm in the bullpen. He's ready to go, and let's go ahead, bring him in. You improve your chances righty versus righty. Brian Brooks goes to the dugout. He cannot lose this game. Right now, he's on the line to win it. And it would be his first victory of his young career. There he goes into the dugout getting high fives from his teammates. That kid pitched a whale of a game. A pitching change in the offing yet another time. And as the new pitcher comes in from the bullpen, we'll step aside, come back and tell you all about the new arm. Well, that young fella right there, as you look into the visitors' dugout, the University of Central Florida freshman left-hander Brian Brooks has done a whale of a job in helping his team stay alive in the Tallahassee Regional NCAA tournament. All he did was come in relief with 1 out and 1 on in the 4th inning and handcuff the Seminoles. And in the 9th inning, maybe the biggest out of that young arm's career, when he struck out All-American Stephen Drew, looking at a breaking pitch that nicked the outside corner. He worked 5 1/3 innings, scattered 4 hits, 2 runs, and struck out just 1 batter. The new pitcher is Tim Bascom, who is primarily a reliever, 27+ innings of work. His job is to get 1 more out and extend this Tallahassee Regional into another game on Championship Sunday. Runner at first, Brian Zetch, and the batter, right-handed home run leader for the Seminoles, Eddie Martinez Esteve. Bascom's heater high, ball 2.
Yeah, that's the key thing. He came in on a 1-0 count, so he's the potential tying run.
Bascom throws heat, right arm reliever to the belt, breaking pitch in there. Well, that's a good, wicked slider.
It's been an impressive showing for UCF and this pitching staff. Again, we knew how great their first 2 guys were, but right on down the line, and they're young guys that have been brought in. They've done the job.
Freshman right-hander got the inside corner. Martinez Esteve thought it might have been a tad inside. He was ducking, getting out of the way. Bascom, a freshman from Dunedin, Florida. Got off to a great start when he handcuffed Florida International back in February. Now Martinez Esteve will step out of the batter's box. He did not agree with the home plate umpire's call, number 1. Number 2, he didn't like the idea of that inside heat. 2-2 count. And Martinez Esteve still fuming, I think, over 1, the pitch, and 2, the call. Another 2-2 pitch. Just missed. And the count goes full. 3-2 on deck. Aaron Cheeseman. Knowles down to their final out.
You know, it's one thing to be selective, but if you're Drew and Martinez Esteve, the 2 best hitters on this team, with 2 strikes, I'm not so sure you leave the bat on your shoulder on anything close.
Payoff pitch. Runner going. In the dirt. Did he go around? No. Eddie Martinez Esteve trots to first with a free pass. And the Knowles have the tying runs aboard now for Aaron Cheeseman. You know, if anything, Tom blocked the pitch that was called a strike on the inside corner. looked more like a ball than that last pitch. The pitch before ball 4, than that pitch looked like it was a strike, a ball.
I'm just making the point. I mean, any good hitter has a good eye, but good eye or not, you have to protect the plate. And I guess I can't be too critical of Eddie Martinez-Esteve because it was called a ball and he ended up reaching base. Pinch runner is going to be Brandon Manasseh down at first base for Eddie Martinez-Esteve.
Manasseh with better wheels than Eddie. Eddie, of course, last year battled that hamstring problem all season long. Not so much of a problem this year, but Manasseh becomes the pinch runner. And Aaron Cheeseman, an important runner because he's the tying run, so you got to get some good wheels out there. Cheeseman, who has been Mr. Clutch for the Seminoles, it seems like, for the second half of the season, has driven in 41 runs, and the junior from Sarasota is at the plate. He's the Seminole cleanup batter. And Bascom now needs to throw strikes. Central Florida leads Florida State 7-5, but the tying runs are aboard for Aaron Cheeseman. Just missed again with a fastball, and it's 2-0. Cheeseman this afternoon is 1 for 4. Got a single in the 6th. Bascom with the sign. Here's the 2-0 pitch. High pop fly right in front of the pitcher's mound. Waving off everybody, third baseman Marshall Bernard, and the University of Central Florida has defeated Florida State 7-5. We will play 2 today at Dick Howser Stadium. How about that?
And again, give credit to the pitching staff for UCF. They have come in, and in 2 games, they have really shut down a team that lit up the ACC last week.
University of Central Florida 7, Florida State 5, your final score. And now let's take a look at our steak and shake play of the game. He wears number 32 on his jersey. He is the starting left fielder for the University of Central Florida. He likes where he plays, and he hits one a mile over the fence. A line shot that cleared the wall by 3 or 4 feet, but it was still going. That gave UCF the go-ahead run. They added insurance the next inning, and the final score is 7-5. Now that we have a second game, those of you tuning in for coverage of the Florida Gators in their regional from Oklahoma City, the start time of that game has been delayed until 5:30 and is not yet underway. We'll keep you posted on the status of the start of that game as this one draws not only to a conclusion, but we begin game number 2 in about 40 minutes. Now, UCF has won the first game of this championship Sunday, and they force game number 2 in this double elimination tournament in Tallahassee. Inside the Lightning will begin in a moment. We'll be back with more baseball from Tallahassee in about 30 minutes. Stick around.